answer to anybody.
Mr. Manfredi, you're charged with attempted bribery of a federal agent. How do you plead?
Not guilty, Your Honor.
Bail is set at $3 million.
I light every bridge I see here just to watch it burn.
And he's back.
Was there any doubt?
You seen all the hell I seen, it make your stomach turn.
We're building something that's eventually going to allow us to go legit. We have to think big.
What do you know about wind turbines?
I know they blow.
Buckle up, here we go.
I might drink a little, I might smoke a lot.
This Manfredi is a problem.
Tell me about it.
He's moving in our direction.
Competition's healthy.
Depends who you're competing with.
Is there a problem?
Show up Sunday morning, looking just like last night.
You're an outsider. Tulsa is mine.
The thing is, things don't really belong to people unless they got the balls to take them.
You got a sense of humor.
Sometimes.
I might drink a little.
We might have some trouble coming our way.
When you want to build a future, you got to know what you want.
You have terrible taste in men.
We in this together.
What is it going to take to get you to dance with me?
Tough guys don't dance. Why are you wearing your pajamas?
Come on.
Go home and get a suit.
Yeah, that's how I get.
There are millions to be made.
I don't answer to anybody.
You want to go down fighting, huh?
Relax there, grasshopper.
Dad, what is going on here? I want to teach them some conflict resolution.
Nothing resolves a conflict like a good smack in the chops, guys.
Lord, that's how.
Tulsa King, new season.
About the longest intro for the show ever. Didn't know me to nip out for a quick wee. Welcome to the Nielsen Ratings. We're back 10 o'clock every Tuesday, mostly talking about shows we want to recommend, old and new, stuff we've seen, documentaries, films, TV shows, occasionally plays, sometimes music, sometimes comic books, sometimes games, but mostly film and TV. I've got my usual panel. I'm going to bring Blue in first because he's on the hoof. He's actually at work. You shouldn't be doing this while you're at work, man. But you're on the break.
Yeah, great intro. 5 minutes left. Tulsa King, Stallone still got it. Joker 2 was a letdown. So.
Okay, so your quick summary for us, because I know I've only got you very briefly, is Joker 2 letdown, worth watching, not worth watching?
I think it's a one-time watch. Gaga and Joaquin are still great actors, but the source material, they pad the timing. The musicals don't work. It's the ending, Lance, is already pissing people off. It's going to piss a lot of people off, the ending. But don't expect a happy ending with these characters.
What would you give it out of 10?
I'd say a 5, just because Joaquin is still good and Lady Gaga's, they're still good actors. The performances are not the problem. It's the plot. That's the problem.
Okay. All right. Well, you can tell us more about it another time. 5 out of 10. We'll see if anybody else on the panel has seen it. I'm loving Tulsa King so far. We're going to talk about it more in detail.
It's excellent. Oh, my God.
Yeah, really good. Fantastic third episode. I'm giving the show like a solid 8.5 out of 10 so far, but I'm going to talk more about it later.
Yep.
So my regular co-host is here. Stupenzo, Superman himself.
Literally just drove home, got home 40, 30 minutes ago. So, yeah.
Is it me, or are you looking redder in the face than usual?
I got this red light on in my face.
Okay. I thought you'd fallen asleep under a sunbed.
I'm flushed because of alcoholism or something.
Yeah.
No.
That could have been another reason. God, this chair. I need to get a new chair. This chair keeps I keep disappearing.
Let's see how bright this light goes. This is so ridiculous. Look at this thing. It's like,
The man from the Northern Wastes is also here.
Yeah, how you doing, you beautiful bastards? It's been a very busy week, hasn't it, with stuff? And
I mean,
really
apart from the fact that World War III is literally breaking out while we're live on air. Apart from that,
don't they always say that, Law? Don't they always say that it's World War III breaking out?
Well,
yeah.
I mean, Iran and Israel are now at war. So, war has certainly broken out in the Middle East. It's no longer like a bit of tit for tat. War has now broken out in the Middle East. So, I know we don't do politics here, but I have to admit I'm a little bit unnerved by that whole what's going on over there. So, and, just pray for the civilians, really, because they're always the people that suffer the most. Inside Man is here.
Yeah.
Oh, there you are. You're not stuck on set, are you now? Thank God.
He might be, because he's been muted since he's been backstage. So I don't know if he's sort of stuck in a toilet or what's going on, but I'll keep him there. And we've also got Critic Al in the house tonight as well.
Evening all.
Yeah, how are you, mate? All right.
Yeah, not too bad. Thanks for the invite. Always
No,
good to be
not
on.
at all. So we're going to talk about a few different things. I do want to give. It has been a weird week with. We lost, first of all, we lost Maggie Smith, massive iconic star, really, really big name. For me, really, I mean, more of a icon in my theatre world. And when I say that, there was a time when I would be going to see a play a week. I had all the connections to get cheap tickets for one thing. As a theatre director predominantly, because I've done 15 plays, I've only done 3 films. I would go and see a lot of theatre, and when you see good theatre, it influences how you write and how you direct theatre, and you see how things are staged, and then you think, oh yeah, that'd be good, we should try that. And a lot of the plays I went to see, Maggie Smith was in, and then I was fortunate enough to meet her after one of those a while back now. This would have probably been, I think, in the mid to just after my dad got ill, so around 2008, I think it was, that I met the lovely Maggie Smith. She's got a phenomenal career. I mean, just the only person probably still living with an equal career to her in the British actress range, I would say, are Judi Dench and Helen Mirren. Are the other two, and I've also met both of them as well. Judy I've met many times. Helen Mirren won't remember me, but yeah, Maggie Smith. I mean, she's had a good innings. She's had an amazing career. What else could you ask for? But yeah, it was. Does anybody? I will go through each person in turn. I know obviously we have some American guests. She's not such a big icon over there, but Stupenzo, have you seen Maggie Smith in things? Do you want to comment on anything you've seen her in?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the first time I think I noticed her was probably Hook as Old Wendy from the Robin Williams movie, and then she was what else? She was also in Sister Act 1 and 2.
Yeah,
as the Secret Garden.
The main kind of the head nun, basically, I think.
Yep. She was the one that had the stick up her behind until the end. Then they become friends in the sequel, right? But she's also in what was it? Gosford Park.
Gosford Park. Yeah, good film.
Yeah, Robert Altman.
Yeah.
And obviously, I think most people younger than me know her from the Harry Potter movies.
Indeed, yeah. I'm just Room with a View. Some people might know her in. Of course, she also did one of the Poirot movies, Evil Under the Sun.
Clash of the Titans. That was another one when she was younger. Yeah.
That's a good one.
Clash of the Titans, Death on the Nile, which was another Poirot film. The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie. Jean Brodie is considered to be the film that sort of broke out her career. No less than 86 acting credits on IMDb. Never went into directing, never went into producing. Quite happy to just do her thing, and classically trained. Went through the old school channels, which was you came out of drama school, you did repertory theatre, which meant you either joined the Royal Shakespeare Company or Chichester Company or someone like that, and you went around the UK and you did plays in different theatres, and that's where you learnt your craft. And if you were lucky, you transposed over to film and television, and she did, and still did plays like right throughout her career. So yeah, amazing actress. Luke, you want to say a couple of words about Miss Smith?
Yeah, it was mostly the same thing as Stupenzolicious' sister acts, bloody Hook and Clash of the Titans, and I had watched a couple of episodes of Downton Abbey. I've not been the biggest fan of it, but she kind of killed it in that show. She was kind of the sarky old lady, and she was probably the only thing that probably did make it watching, and that was only from the couple of episodes I saw of it. Yeah, she was a great actress, and I love doing Clash of the Titans as I forgot the name of the goddess she plays though, but she's obviously the one that is the son of Calibos, who Zeus punishes, and she tries to try and get her own little way against Perseus with it. She's a very good, accomplished actress, and she seems like she didn't really lose any of that spark because she got older either. She's very sad to see she gone.
Yeah, she should.
Was it? I think it was Thetis, wasn't it, that she played in Clash?
That's it. God, I need to watch it again. It's been a while. It really has.
Yeah, I Retro Nerd Girl just did an excellent sort of breakdown review of Clash of the Titans. And,
wonderful.
I need to watch more of her stuff, and I think I'm subscribed to her.
Yeah, she's great. I mean, I didn't watch it because I deliberately want to watch it again first before I see her take on it. But she only saw it for the first time fairly recently, and then I think a year ago or so, and then decided to do sort of a longer video about it. Fantastic, fantastic.
For me personally, there's a couple of films that she did that really stand out for me. One of them was
Go for it.
I think I've spoken about it before on here, actually, Lance. California Suite. With she played opposite Michael Caine, and she played an Oscar-nominated actress, and of course she's married to Michael Caine, who's an antique dealer, but he is gay, and she's desperate for his love, and he just he does love her, but not in that kind of way.
That was in.
It's a great film.
1978. That film.
Yeah.
Only supposed to break the bloody back doors in.
Yeah,
that's right. but she one for Gord King, because I know that Gord King's got a little bit of a thing for her. Just if Gord King's listening,
he may well be. You never know. Michael Cera gets everywhere, so
she actually does show a little bit of nip in California.
Oh my God! Can you stop talking about nudity on my stream? This channel's a bit more high
woman back in the day. So
for those people watching, I apologise. Inside Man will be put on the naughty step.
That was only for Gord King. That was purely for Gord King. But another one that I think she was really good in, that she played again. It's another one that I've mentioned on here. Where she played opposite David Niven in Murder by Death. It's got a fantastic cast. Had Peter Falk, Truman Capote is in it. The role that was going to be taken by Orson Welles. It's and Neil Simon, based on Neil Simon.
Truman Capote's terrible in it as well.
Yeah, he is. He is the worst thing in it. But David Niven and Maggie Smith are just amazing in this film. And I think it was Alec Guinness that was talking to Maggie Smith just before they finished the movie. They were sitting there on set, and he said, I've got this little thing called Star Wars I'll be doing after this. And Yeah.
And
So
the rest
those are two that really stick out, and obviously the Prime of Miss Jean Brodie, I think, is an absolute classic. I mean, it's a fantastic film. Which is the one that really
wasn't California Suite a sequel to another Neil Simon play that was set in a hotel in New York, and that was called something else Suite. I can't and part because I know it's like a series of, it's basically 3 mini plays within one play.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, the only
and
unfortunate thing is it has Bill Cosby in it.
well,
Although he is very good, he's very good in it. I've got to be honest. He's very good.
The goddamn pudding pop bloopy blop.
Yeah. So I feel your Christopher Walken impression is better than your Bill Cosby. So is this the one, or am I thinking of a different one? Where there's one play towards the end where the couple spends the whole time trying to talk the daughter out of the bathroom in the hotel on the day of her wedding. She's having some kind of last minute, mental breakdown and about to change her mind kind of thing. Or is that
no? I don't.
So if that's not in this one, that's in the other Neil Simon one that's set in New York. That's called something else Sweet, but I can't remember the bloody name.
I mean, there is a scene with Alan Alda and Jane Fonda, who incidentally are just incredible in this film. And they're trying to. I think Jane Fonda's trying to, or both of them are trying to talk the daughter into going with Jane Fonda because they're an estranged couple on the brink of divorce. And Walter Matthau also is very good. He's very good. He's little.
He's great, isn't he? He's always great.
Yeah, the man with a face that looks like a walnut with hair on it. The only person I know whose hair has got darker with age. It never went grey, but he got more and more black hair as he got older. I don't know how that happened.
Funnily enough, on this poster, everybody in the left column is still alive. Everybody on the right, I don't know about Elaine May, but everybody else on the right is now deceased. So actors, always make sure you're on the left side of the credits. On a poster. I'm not sure if that's a thing.
Most actors are actually on the left anyway.
So Critic Al, do you have a favourite Maggie Smith movie?
Honestly, I probably liked her best in Sister Act 1 and 2.
Right. Okay.
Playing the foil to Whoopi Goldberg's.
Yeah, because
Sister Mary, I think it was.
Yeah. Because even though she kind of had a stick up her ass, like Stupenzo mentioned, you can still see she cared about the other nuns and the sanctity of her convent.
Yeah, she was the sister superior of the convent, wasn't she? Yeah. And I think that's probably because the thing is, I personally, probably to a certain amount of heresy to some people, I never cared for Harry Potter. So the fact that she was in those series of films didn't really.
I rewatched them, the entire series about 6 years ago, and with my ex, and we both agreed that the films as a general thing had just aged terribly, and I had no interest in watching them again after that.
It doesn't really surprise me, to be honest. I mean, the fans are going to like it, and the fans are what they are, and they're probably going to get remade at some point anyway. But I mean,
well, they are, aren't they? They're doing a series. They're doing a
I mean, they're doing a series. I figured they'd do theatrical eventually. But it's one of those things that never really grabbed me the way that sort of the works of Tolkien and things like that did. So I never appreciated her in that. But obviously Hook, Sister Act. She was just that she was one of the great British thespians that just every time there was a British lady of a certain type, it was Maggie Smith.
Yeah,
and we've always been like, oh wow, she's still going.
I know.
She must be like, oh wow, nearly 90.
We've been saying that for a long time.
Exactly, and now, sadly, she's not. And we've lost her, but her work will always be there, and she will always be remembered. Dame Maggie Smith. She's as I say, one of the great British thespians of that type, and
truly one of the greats. Yeah,
and an actor of which the like that we will not probably see again because of the type of films that get made now. And as you say, it is only Dame Judi Dench and Helen Mirren that are left from that crop, as it were. And eventually, unfortunately, we're going to lose those two. So,
don't say that about
dying breed.
Judy. Don't say that about Judy.
I think it's is it Helen Mirren who used to go to a shop where I lived in Leigh-on-Sea? I'm pretty sure there was a dress shop there that she used to frequent, because I think Helen Mirren is an Essex girl.
That I could well believe that's true. There's a particular shop in Brighton that I know Judi Dench likes going into for coats, and I actually went and got her a coat from that shop as a Christmas present. Cool. And she was like, "How did you know where to get this?" And I said, "Because there's a picture of you and the shop owner behind the counter with you buying a coat in the shop." And I said, "Is it all right? Do you like it?" And she went, "I love it. I love it. I love this coat." And I was like, "Oh, that's good."
Yeah, I think this is the same on this shop. I think it's got on there that Helen Mirren. It might even be Judi Dench, to be honest, but I think it was Helen Mirren frequented that shop. And it's just these great British actresses that you've just seen in so many films over the years, so many films, and they're the go-to because it happens every now and again that Hollywood needs a older British lady to be a role in a film, and now sadly they don't have Maggie Smith to choose from.
Well, I loved the role that she played in Evil Under the Sun. The adaptation. I thought that was wonderful. I think she was a hotelier, wasn't she? She was the kind of lady hotelier.
That's the series with Peter Ustinov as Poirot, and I did like Ustinov in that role, although David Suchet as well. It's funny that we've never had a Frenchman, like a famous French actor, playing that part. It's always
or even Belgian.
No, Belgian, exactly.
Belgian. Sorry, he's Belgian, isn't he? Sorry,
he is,
We've never had someone from mainland Europe, shall we say, playing the part of the famous Belgian detective. It's always we've had Kenneth Branagh, Peter Ustinov, David Suchet, and I think
you get John Reno out there or something like that, or
Albert Finney was another one, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was
Deputy.
He was quite good. I'm going to move on. So we're going to move on to giving John Ashton a shout out. I mentioned him briefly the other night with the Inside Man, where we did a special stream dedicated to Chris Christopherson, who we're going to talk about briefly next. John Ashton, of course, most of you will know from the Beverly Hills Cop films, but he has been in a plethora of other things. If you look at Judge Reinhold did a really nice dedication to him today on his Twitter. They've clearly, remained friends since they worked together on Beverly Hills Cop. I mean, Ashton has consistently worked, throughout his career. I don't think there's a year. I've gone through his CV here. I don't think there's a year where he's not worked. So it's not like he a couple of years off and came back out. If you go sort of to pre Beverly Hills Cop time, you'll see he was in all the big shows of the 70s. So things like Police Story, Police Woman, which was then
great. Yeah,
I love Police Woman. Police Woman was great. Yeah,
terrific.
Wonder Woman, Starsky and Hutch, Dallas. We talked about Honky Tonk Freeway yesterday. Very strange movie. He was also had a bit part in Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai Across the Eighth Dimension. If you want to talk about strange movies, then he did Beverly Hills Cop. He did an episode of the A-Team, Twilight Zone. Now, one of his best roles in a film that most of you won't have seen is The Deliberate Stranger, and this is a really good two-parter with Mark Harmon about Ted Bundy. It was released on the Odyssey label in the UK. Came as like two sort of VHS cassettes, two 90-minute parts from what I remember. And it tells the whole story of him from the very beginning right to the final court case, and, covers his escapes and everything. And he plays one of the detectives coming after him. I think this is all available on YouTube, apart from the really horrible let's get a composer who's got an electronic organ in his basement to do the soundtrack. It's got one of them, where everybody got an electronic keyboard and just started doing all the scores on those, and they all sound really awful now. Apart from that, the score, it's really good. Mark Harmon is really chilling in this. So that's an offering of his that you guys might not have seen. Definitely worth your time. Midnight Run would be his other favorite. The other thing he did that I really loved with Robert De Niro.
Yeah, because it's kind of like the more ruthless bounty hunter who actually will sell out his own bounty to the mob as well at the end.
Yeah, he's got no morals. He's just
Yeah.
purely in it for the money. There's a good shot of all three of them there. There's a great story about how he got the part. He went into audition, never met De Niro. He was a relative, still a relative unknown actor. I mean, people knew him from Beverly Hills Cop, but he'd never met De Niro. And during the scene that they did, De Niro was playing with matchsticks and deliberately dropped the box of matches and matchsticks all over the floor in front of him. And he stayed in character. He picked them up and he threw them at De Niro's face and said, "Fuck you." And that's how he finished the scene. And apparently De Niro told him later that he got it because he was the only one who stood up to him in the room. All the other actors picked up the matches and gave them back to him. So that's a pretty cool story about how he got. I'm not advising actors to tell De Niro to fuck off during a scene, incidentally, for anyone watching at home. But yeah, quite a cool story about how he got that part. It's a shame we didn't see more films from Martin Brest, who directed this.
Yeah,
because he's a really good director.
Yeah, do you do that? Was it Gigi or something with Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck? If I'm pronouncing that.
Oh, Giggly or Jiggly.
Jiggly, that's what it is.
Yeah. So Stupenzo, anything you want to say about John Ashton?
Yeah, 3 90s kind of comedy family-ish films that I know him from really well.
Yeah, go for
it. Besides Beverly Hills Cop, obviously, but yeah, he was in Little Big League, where the little kid inherits the baseball team.
I kind of remember that. That.
Yeah. All 3 of these movies are going to be movies you kind of remember. Trapped in Paradise with Nicolas Cage, Dana Carvey, and John Lovitz are a bunch of, bumbling robbers in some northern town, snowed in. And then the third one is Meet the Deedles, which is where Ryan, what's his name? No, not Ryan. Paul Walker. Paul Walker and his brother are a bunch of surfer dudes who are Yellowstone Park Rangers, and Ashton is like the boss, the captain of the park rangers. So yeah, he's great. He's great as like the what's the word I'm looking for? The curmudgeon authority figure, the captain who's just had too much of the nonsense, or the mean principal, like that'd be something he's great in, That's just the kind of vibe he gave off.
Yeah, this is Meet the Deedles. I remember when this was on at the video store, and the cover alone convinced me I should not rent this movie.
Right. Yeah. I don't think anyone watched this movie. I'm sure everyone remembers this poster,
Yeah. Who thought that was a good poster? I don't know. I've just noticed one credit, right, which is going to make the Brits on the panel go, really? He did, and this must have been when I wasn't watching it, which would have been the majority of its run. He did 2 episodes of EastEnders.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah.
Oh, King Kong Lives.
Yeah, he did in the 90s. Where is it? It's on here. Here we go. Mr. Corby, 2 episodes in 1995.
I'll be.
So I wonder.
Does he play an American or does he put on a British accent?
I don't know. I'll tell you what. We see if we can find those on YouTube.
I'll look up Mr. Corby. How do you spell that, with a C or a K?
It's with a C.
Okay. Mr. Corby, EastEnders.
It has to be an American. Has to be an American.
Yeah. I mean,
I mean, if he's in it doing some sort of East End.
Yeah.
I want him to be doing Cockney. Come on.
Oh, glory, Governor.
Lawrence Corby.
That'd be absolutely amazing if there's footage of Ashton doing a Cockney accent. I want to see that.
Oh yeah, I can just. I'm gonna get you, slag. Yeah.
But
I'm looking as well. I'm not finding anything here. It's just clips of EastEnders. No John Ashton. Come on, there's got to be some.
No, I mean the BBC
You gotta look up the
will
character
have it.
name.
BBC will have it. But
BBC.
Well, it's
Lawrence Corby.
Mr. Corby.
What even is EastEnders about?
It's like it's a soap.
knows?
It's like Sunset Beach. It's like Sunset Beach, but set in the East End of London with no sun and no beach.
Okay.
Yeah. So very similar, apart from that.
It's a perpetually miserable program set in London, revolving around a pub and a square.
James Evans says, "Imagine him going up against the Mitchell brothers. Actually, that I would see, clubbing them in the jaw with a shotgun butt. You know, yeah. John Ashton, good solid actor. I kind of knew when I saw Axel F. I thought, yeah, this is a guy who's been he looks ill. We're not going to have him for much longer. And well, that turned out to be true, sadly. But great actor. Midnight Run, I think probably his finest hour, because he got to just play a character where he just didn't give a fuck, and it just really worked with him. I thought it was, rather than a figure of authority who doesn't give a fuck, which is a lot of his other resume. Well, we'll see if we can track down that EastEnder footage another time.
Apparently, it's in episode 1186, but I can't find any video of it.
Okay.
Good Lord.
Keep on the case, Al. If you find it during the stream, you definitely
We'll chuck the link in
win
the
a cookie.
comments.
I want to give a shout out to somebody who passed away. The announcement was made, well, at least I found out about it while we were doing the Chris Christopherson stream. And the story to how I met Gavin Creel goes like this. So we were rehearsing, or we were, I think, in the middle of the run, actually, of 12 Angry Women, which was an all-black female production, very loosely sort of homage to 12 Angry Men, that I was directing in London. For all you kids watching at home, don't direct a play with 12 angry women in it. Not fun. And but one of the actresses got a load of free tickets for anybody in the cast that wanted to go and see the production of Hair that had done a successful run on Broadway. They brought it to London for a short run, I think, sort of about 6 to 8 weeks or something like that. And there was a couple of young British actors were doing some understudy stuff on it. So not the entire American company came over, but the leads did. And then I think they bolstered it out with some British actors. And Gavin Creel was playing the lead role. The role that was also played by my birth father, Lionel, in the West End in 1962 or something. So quite bizarre. One of the things that they did when they did the big number at the end was all the actors came out into the audience and they pulled people onto the stage. And so you ended up like being on the stage if you wanted to be. And I was just like, yeah, I'm quite up for this. So I just went dancing down and ended up dancing on the stage with Gavin Creel on one side of me and this girl, I forget her name, on the other side. Anyway, and I looked up all the lead cast the following day, and I actually invited them to come and see our play, which we were doing at the time. And I invited 6 of them, and the only one who came was Gavin Creel. And he didn't even tell me he'd come until after I messaged him, and I said, "Oh, you're sorry you didn't make the play." No, I came, but I had to shoot away straight away. I saw it and said a lot of very nice things about it because he was on my friends list on Facebook. I added him. I think about 4 or 5 years ago, he took down his sort of personal Facebook and he just had like a work one, you know. So, and after that, I didn't really hear from him for quite a while. Busy as he was and winning Tonys and this kind of thing, he got an extremely rare form of cancer earlier this year. Boom, gone like that. Couldn't believe it. 48 years of age. And when I met him, he must have been in his, was it 2009, so 13 years ago. Yeah, he would have been in his mid to late 30s. And I honestly thought he was so, like, you know, typical kind of theatrical body and very fit, very young. I thought he was like 23. You know, I thought he was really young, but he must have been about 34 then. So, yeah, very talented man, extremely talented. Did a lot of charity work and all these kinds of things. You won't hear anybody say a bad word about him in the theatrical world, and what a loss. So that was a real shock to learn about Gavin, and especially while we were doing the live stream about Chris Christopherson. So I did an impromptu live stream about Convoy yesterday, which is why we showed the trailer of it at the beginning today, which pretty much shows you the entire film in case you haven't seen it, which is still my favorite movie of Chris Christopherson. I mean, Inside Man and myself, we talked about his career in some detail yesterday. I'll let everyone else chip in a second, but we both concluded that. Yeah, we got sidetracked. Matthew Holmes came on from Australia as well, filmmaker. So he
darn
came on.
Aussie.
And yeah, I think one other person popped on. I think didn't Blue come on at one point?
Yes, he did. Yeah.
I mean, he, you know, the bottom line is he did, I would say, 6 or 7 films that were really quite exceptional. Star is Born, Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. You know, and critics would say that Convoy is not one of those exceptional movies. Myself and the Inside Man would argue very strongly it is one of his exceptional movies.
Yeah.
We both love it.
Love it.
And I really like Flashpoint that he did with Treat Williams, who also passed away earlier this year. He did America, and I have one of the cast of America coming on the channel probably next month.
Oh, that's amazing.
I'll tell you guys who after we get off air. So yeah, and he was very good in America, and he did some other pretty good films, but he did a lot of very average movies, and then of course he made a bit of a comeback with Blade. Great supporting role in that. Did a great role in Payback. You know, but there's a lot of films that he did that were so. He was a frequent collaborator with John Sayles. Did 2 or 3 films with him. They're definitely worth your time. But the last few films on his CV I haven't seen. Texas Rising would have been the last miniseries that he did, which I've got the DVD of, which also stars Bill Paxton. So Enzo, you want to, as the American present, do you want to chip in about Mr. Christopherson?
Big Top Pee-wee. That was my favorite role of his growing up, where Pee-wee, he's basically the guy who runs the circus that crashes into Pee-wee's farm, and Pee-wee shows him his hot dog tree, and he has a little, Chris Christopherson has a wife named Midge, who's like the size of your index finger and sits in the palm of his hand. That was a great one. I loved that one. And obviously, yeah, Blade, Whistler, he was fantastic as Blade's apprentice, or sorry, Alfred, basically. Yeah, and obviously Payback was also a really good one. I'm sorry, as far as like other stuff, yeah, I mean, my dad was a big fan of the music, the country stuff, and what was it? I know A Star Is Born. Mom and Dad both love that one with Barbra Streisand. I hear that's a lot of people seem to think that that's the best version of that story, even though there's like 4 different movies.
Yeah, I would agree. I'm not a fan of the recent one.
Oh yeah. Everyone, dude. Every time I go to karaoke and some girl wants to do a duet with me, it's always either that song from A Star Is Born or Picture by Kid Rock and Shania Twain. It's like, please, can we sing something else? But yeah, he's been in some good ones, man. I know my dad loved Convoy also.
Inside Man.
Oh, dude, Nights. If you guys want to watch a Chris Christopherson movie you haven't seen that's on my channel, Nights, where he's basically a cyborg warrior in the wasteland of the future, running around doing karate flips. It's amazing.
That sounds like it needs to be watched.
Hang on, that's Chris Christopherson in the lead role doing that?
No, it's actually some hot blonde lady, but yeah, again, he's kind of like the Whistler character, like, let me show you around these parts, doing that kind of thing. Right. There is a part where he gets his legs cut off and he spends the duration of the movie in a backpack on the girl, and she's doing backflips, and it's amazing, dude. You gotta see it to believe it.
Right. There he is with Kurt Russell. I didn't realize the two of them had been in a movie together. Dreamer inspired by a true story. I'm not. Has anyone seen this movie with a young
hockey one, right?
Young Dakota Fanning.
Yeah, it's like a hockey movie or something, or what? What was it about? Or am I thinking of a different one?
I don't know. It's got Lewis Guzman in it, so pretty good cast. Elizabeth Shue there on the left.
I need to check that one out. Kurt Russell. I'm in.
If somebody wants to look it up, we can get some more info on that.
Racehorse movie. My mistake. Racehorsing.
We talked about Heaven's Gate yesterday and how disappointing it is. Here he is in Texas Rising. Texas Rising was a real disappointment. It had a colossal cast, really great names. Bill Paxton was in it. I've got the sort of DVD mini box set. It's kind of 6-part about the Alamo and all the battles that followed and whatever, but it just the script just wasn't good. It was just it was a really so script, but had a lot of money spent on it, and it looked good, but it was like Lord of the Rings. It just didn't sound good. It didn't Rings of Power. It just didn't sound good.
Yeah.
So this is clearly some sort of Dolphin Tale 2. Yeah, I haven't seen Dolphin Tale 2. I haven't seen Dolphin Tale 1. So. Or is this a shot from Inside Man's surprise 50th birthday party?
Yes, it is. Yeah.
I thought so. Yeah.
That's it.
Forgot to mention Chris Christopherson was there for that.
Ding.
This is his look when he's told by his agent that he's got to do that film with Steven Seagal. This is the look.
Yeah. He really is pissed off us now.
Yeah. Because he did do like most people, he did one film with Seagal. Most people have done one film with Seagal. You don't see Michael Caine going back to endless.
Oh yeah, on Deadly Ground. That's a bad one.
Yeah.
Let's face it, most of Steven Seagal's filmography is bad, very bad.
Yeah, even Michael Caine is bad in that film, and I like Michael Caine.
No, Michael Caine, I felt, was deliberately being bad in that film.
Yeah, I think he knew what kind of film he was in.
Yeah, he did. He knew exactly.
Oh, yeah, you think my American accent is bad? Michael Caine's is just awful. It's just laughably bad. It really is.
Well, Christopherson is in Dolphin Tale 1. For anyone who's thinking about watching both of the Dolphin Tales, he is in both of them. This is the first one. So, Silver City. This is a good movie. John Sayles movie, kind of about political corruption and land grabbing and that kind of thing. Chris Cooper, another regular of John Sayles movies. Blade Trinity.
Yeah, they did him dirty in that third one. They really did. They just fucking killed him off again.
The third one was not a good film at all. The third one was the film that made me actively hate Ryan Reynolds. Like, detest him. Yeah. And it wasn't until Deadpool that I liked him again.
Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia is not a bad movie.
God, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, he was in that with Warren Oates, great Warren Oates.
Yeah, he's only in a small role, though, isn't he? He's only in a small role in that film, but hey, it's most.
And here he is as the villain in Payback. I said it yesterday, and I think the only other actor that you could put up alongside him and argue they have equal charisma, presence, and talent would be Sam Elliott, although Sam Elliott doesn't have a music career. Fortunately, we do have Sam Elliott and his moustache. So, big top Pee-wee.
Just quickly back to Alfredo Garcia. There's actually a very, very good interview with Sam Peckinpah by Barry Norman, and Peckinpah is... how can I put it? Unusual in the interview, and he doesn't really sort of pull any punches on Barry Norman.
Right,
Barry Norman, for our American viewers, he's the British equivalent of Roger Ebert back in the day.
Yeah, And why not?
Yeah.
And
why not?
And why not? I've got. So there's a Peckinpah interview. Yeah, here it is. I've found it. It's on.
Yeah.
It's on YouTube. The Peckinpah interview. This is from 1976. And I don't know. We might get copyright flagged for this, although this should be out of copyright by now. I would have thought.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let me show a quick clip of this.
I think he was just doing Cross of Iron at the time. He was in England doing Cross of Iron.
Cross of Iron, was Cross of Iron filmed in the UK? I thought it was filmed in Eastern Europe.
I think there was, or I think he was editing in the UK.
This is Barry Norman,
who I knew. Funny enough.
No audio.
Oh, no audio.
Nah, it's silent.
Oh, hang on. I think I can get it though. Hold on. I just need to share it via a different thing. Let me try it again. Barry Norman's about to ask him a controversial question. So, we don't want to miss out on that, do we? He says, if I can start with a controversial question.
Film violence, all that kind of stuff.
It probably is that, yeah. Let's see.
Your work is synonymous with excessive and very explicit violence.
There
But you are, in fact, known as Bloody Sam.
No, people who could take their own leisure at deciding what they did not want to do for a living and apply labels to others, journalists, TV commentators, etc., did that some years ago. And of course, the public went for these labels. I think the public has learned, or at least somebody has learned in the passing years, that Bloody Sam was merely a changeover from dishonesty to at least looking at the fact that people do bleed and are hurt. But I am not responsible for the chainsaw, whatever its name is, or any of the other trash.
Damn, that's so he's kind of going after the horror films there.
It's still a very eloquent response compared to what you get these days, isn't it? Nowadays, you'd ask a young actor, literally, you get that, So that was still a very eloquent and well reasoned response, in my opinion.
It's actually a very, very good interview, and there was a few times when he sort of has a dig at Barry Norman because Barry Norman refers to his movie as Bring with the Head of Alfredo Garcia. And he says, it's not Garcia, it's Garcia. It's Mexican, it's Garcia. Garcia is Spanish, and he keeps saying it.
Right.
So constantly through this, he does dig at Barry Norman, because he's quite, it comes across as quite puritanical, I think. But
is
it's
it as
a very,
bad as
very
the
good
Bee Gees versus Clive? Oh God, what's his name? Clive.
Oh, when they all
because that is one of the most insane interviews I've ever seen in my entire life.
Yeah,
where the Bee Gees just walk off.
I'm not sure that was them walking off warranted. I remember watching it live, and I just remember thinking,
no, not really. He's being he's being rude. He is being rude, but I don't think he does anything that would warrant them to actually leave.
I think what it was. I mean, he said, "Oh, you used to be in a band. You were originally called Las Tosas." And he says, for me, you'll always be Las Tosas to me.
Yeah.
And that's it. One of them gets up and walks off. Another one gets up and walks off. And the other one, poor sod, is sitting there and he says, I suppose
I don't do so. I'm not a solo act or something, he says. And
then
something like that,
yeah. I mean, it was funny, but it just seemed very uncalled for as well. I mean, you're supposed to be interviewing these guys.
He doesn't like them. That's the problem. He
should have saved that joke until the end, shouldn't he? This steering us back on track to Chris Christopherson. Fuck me, this happened yesterday. I got brain over this. This is Flashpoint, which if you haven't seen it, is definitely a film worth tracking down. It was straight to video in the UK, and I think came out around 1986. Again with Treat Williams, about two border force officers. what do you call them in the States? Is it like Border Patrol? Is a particular department, isn't it?
Border Patrol.
Border Patrol, yeah. Yeah, it's a good movie.
Nice.
Yeah, U.S. Border Patrol. There we go. It's actually on the jacket. They do have cool jackets.
I love those. I remember living in El Paso. We'd have Border Patrol out there, and they have this awesome, like these green and white colored little SUV type vehicles. This is a great color palette. That's cool.
And the basic plot for this movie is that they discover a vehicle, the trunk of which is full of cash. That's got a very old rifle in it, and this could be the body of the man who shot Kennedy and was paid off and didn't make it very far, clearly. So yeah, it's a good little movie. I really liked it. Anybody else want to say anything else about Chris Christopherson before we move on to this week's film and television recommendations?
I just think he was a man. He was a man's man, and I loved him for being that.
He was a Rhodes Scholar.
Rugged, wouldn't you? Rugged would be the word.
Yeah, I mean, he was a real cowboy. I mean, there's a few actors you can say were real cowboys, and yeah, definitely he was one of them. So, okay, all right. Well,
I'd like to say more, but I'm still trying to find this EastEnders episode. I'm scrolling through.
Listen,
I found a website that has got all of the old EastEnders episodes from like the 90s, the 80s, and everything.
If you
Can
find
I find
it,
this one? I can't. I'm trying.
If you find it, just mention it in private chat, and then I'll
we'll do.
when an appropriate moment comes, I'll pause and we'll have a look at John Ashton's EastEnders. Okay, so well, rest in peace, all of the above. And yeah, it's been a bit. It always comes in threes, but there was a couple of others as well, lesser well known.
A few weeks, hasn't it?
Yeah, but these three were boom, 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 like one right after each other. So, plus Gavin Creel, of course, extremely famous in the theatrical world. All right, well, if no one else is going on camera, I will stay off. So let's get into this week's recommendations. So first of all,
hey. Someone else passed away today.
Oh shit!
Yeah, McDonald. What was it? Trading Places, or no? Yeah, Coming to America.
No, he passed away in August. I've seen loads of posts about this.
Yeah,
what in the world? Yeah, I got a notification about it today, so that's why I assumed it happened.
John Amos passed away.
John Amos. Yeah, that's right. Okay, good, because I remember
about it. We talked about it then. Yeah.
I did have some deja vu when my phone blew up today and said that he passed away at 84. And I was like, that's okay. So, great. That's very sad, but I am glad that I'm not going crazy and I didn't. Okay.
Right.
Okay.
Well, we're gonna start off with a couple of Netflix things. So anyone who's seen anything new on Netflix will cover that first. I've got my first one here. We talked about Monsters last week, which was very good. Recommended it, and bit of toing and froing with the facts, but you can check all that stuff for yourself. But overall, it's a good show, well acted, well directed. This documentary series, which is in 8 parts,
I watched it.
I think is roughly 40 minutes. Is it pronounced Mr. McMahon? Is it McMahon?
Mr. McMahon.
McMahon. That's right, McMahon.
Imagine it's spelled. There's no H or O there.
Yeah. So Mr. McMahon is basically the guy who invented WWF wrestling. Kind of ran it like a sort of tyrannical madman. And it's a documentary that they started filming with all the key players, including the people from his family, his son, his daughter, various ex-wrestlers, including people like Hulk Hogan and loads of others. And during the making of this show, he was arrested and serious charges were brought against him, at which point he ceased all contact with the production company. But some others did not. It's a really, really interesting series. I'll put my cards on the table that I've never particularly been a fan of wrestling. I briefly watched it in the UK when it was a thing in the early 80s. But I never really took to the whole American wrestling sort of mentality and all the rest of it. I just wasn't into it. However, this is interesting to me, that what goes on behind the walls, what creates the facade of this show business enterprise is very interesting. And this documentary leaves no stone unturned, I would say, and they cover a lot of very controversial things, including the way that his relationship with his son, which is kind of tragic in a way. And I mean, God, I mean, you can't say that this guy isn't driven and successful and passionate, but boy, I would not want him as my dad.
Yeah, he even thought it was a good idea to have him impregnate his daughter as a storyline. Thank God they didn't go through with it.
Yeah, I mean, it just sort of. Well, I mean, it wouldn't have been for real. It would have been fictional. But
it's like it's still messed up. I mean, that's even for a wrestling with that's fake. It's still going a bit too far. In my opinion.
Yeah, I agree, because the problem is that the WWF audience often didn't know what was real and what wasn't. So, but it's a good documentary. I recommend it. It's worth your time.
Totally.
As a documentary, I'd give it 8 out of 10. Stupenzo, have you seen it?
Yeah, me and Meg watched it. She was big into wrestling, apparently. I wasn't. I was into wrestling when I was a little kid, and WWF had a gold chrome logo, and the Ultimate Warrior and Hulk Hogan were things.
Yeah.
And we talked about this on my Sunday stream, but yeah, there was once it got into the what it's called, I didn't know this, but it's called the Attitude Era, where basically the late 90s, early 2000s. This is the time when Jackass was popular on MTV, and everything just had to have this edge, you know, and I don't know, I didn't care about wrestling by then for years and years. I mean, once I found out it was fake when I was about 8 years old, I was like, well, this is stupid. And then I don't know, a lot of people just started watching it, and I never realized how crazy off the rails this Attitude Era was. Because basically there was a period of time where nobody was a good guy anymore. Everyone was just like various levels of bad guy. And you had your Stone Cold Steve Austins and your Rocks. And then, yeah, what happens? They bring back Hulk Hogan as a bad guy and various other stuff. I mean, it was just all so silly. But this documentary was fascinating because just talking about how I didn't know any of this stuff he was doing with his own kids and his wife. The whole story arc about he has a secretary / caregiver of his wife who's this hot model who he's like openly having an affair with because his wife is like being put in like a medical like comatose state.
Yeah, that was all really bizarre.
It was insane. I was like, why wasn't I watching this as a kid? I would have loved this. I see why everyone liked this. It had nothing to do with the wrestling. It was all about like it was like the South Park said, it's like a soap opera for young lads.
Yeah, so that'd be good. Who's furiously typing? The only person allowed to do that is me. Okay, so if you're going to furiously type, mute yourself, please.
But yeah, you know how I feel about overly long documentaries. But this is one of those documentaries where you could tell the filmmakers were like right in the middle of filming. They're like, some development happens, and this is going to be a huge moneymaker documentary all of a sudden.
Yeah. And I mean, the amount of money that he's made is phenomenal. And then, of course, there was WCW, though they were going head to head, and
at
one point,
and then WWF lost to a panda.
So and then it went back and forth, and I didn't know any of this shit was going on because I wasn't in this world. I wasn't, it's like if you're not into ice hockey, you don't know what's going on in the ice hockey world. I wasn't into wrestling. But watching it, you don't have to have been remotely interested in wrestling to enjoy this documentary. It is absolutely fascinating. Absolutely.
Yeah, Blue Collar bringing up the fact that I didn't realize this, but apparently the Attitude Era was the peak of the WWE, WWF era. I was like, I didn't know that. I was such a contrarian. I was like one of the only kids not watching wrestling at that time.
Yeah, because they really went out their way to perform all these big grand stunts as well, like flying off fucking cages, the Hell in the Cell, everything.
I was in high school. And I remember thinking like, this is so weird that some of my peers are also watching this nonsense.
They just try to make it edgier with bigger storylines and more violent matches and that kind of stuff. But
I wasn't interested. In 2002 though.
But what they didn't have in the 80s was the naked chicks, like the chicks just stripping into bikinis and wrestling. That was something I understood. Was like, okay, I see.
Some of the stunts they did were just insane. People jumping off of wrestling cages and landing on picnic tables and smashing them in half. Just like kind of shit that like Hollywood stuntmen would, in the way that they did them, would balk at. You know, it just really was nuts.
There's like footage of Mick Foley taking out thumbtacks in his skull, you know, after getting tombstoned on them during his Hell in a Cell match. It's insane what they went through.
Well, they also talk about a lot of the big stuff that happened in the wrestling era, like Hulk Hogan doing movies and the Chris Benoit thing, and also Bret Hart's brother dying on stage.
God, that was terrible, man. That was awful.
Yeah, that's something that even as not a wrestling fan, you're like, whoa, that's crazy. You hear about that story, you're like, damn.
Yeah, it was.
There's a lot of things these bloody big wigs allowed to happen. All the steroid abuse that they knew was
so much. Catching up with them now, that's for sure. Loads of them dropping dead of heart attacks.
Yeah. Well, I give this documentary series 9 out of 10. I think it's a superb piece of documentary filmmaking. Credit to the producers and directors behind it. And even though, McMahon stopped, didn't come back for his final interview after the charges and stuff were laid at his doorstep, but they had enough to finish it off and bring it to right up to date. So it's I don't think we've seen the last of Mr. McMahon, but it is a fantastic piece of work. It's great. Spencer, what would you give it out of 10?
Probably 7, 8 out of 10. For documentary is definitely an 8 or a 9.
Anyone else seen it? Want to rate it quickly?
No, I've not watched it. And, I used to watch wrestling during. I used to watch it during the Attitude Era. So I probably should give it a go. Might stir up some nostalgia. I don't know.
Totally.
Yeah, I mean, I've not seen this yet. I mean, it is something that I would like to see. I mean, I've never really been into the whole wrestling thing. It kind of passed me by, I think, because I was too busy going to parties getting laid. But
you're on set of Band of Brothers, man. So
it just kind of passed me by. But as you say, I mean, the whole I think Enzo actually used the most appropriate word for it, and that's fascinating. And it is quite a fascinating thing, and as you said, Lance, what's behind the facade, what's behind the kind of glitz and glamour of this. I think that's the interesting part about this documentary series. So it is one that I'm going to catch. Absolutely.
I think if you actually were a big fan of the wrestling stuff and knew all this stuff going in, you probably like the documentary less. You'd be like, yeah, I know. I know. I saw all that.
Yeah, there's probably.
I was like talking to Meg, like, you actually watched this as a kid? She's like, oh yeah. I was like, wow.
Big chunk of people already knew half the stuff, most of the stuff that was already shown in the documentary years ago. Anyway, so I've been seeing a few posts on it, and they're like, "Yeah, well, they're already mentioning stuff I knew years ago. Why should I watch this?"
Okay, all right. Anyone else want to say anything on this before we move on? Anyone? Bueller? Anyone? No? Okay, all right. So we are going to talk about, before I get on to some of my panel's choices for the week, which will no doubt be an interesting concoction of Italian spaghetti, we are going to talk about Tulsa King, which I showed the trailer for the second season at the beginning. I watched all of season 1 last year, and I kind of, when I first heard about it, I thought, not really sure about this show. Really enjoyed it. Thought it was really good. Supporting cast were good. Stallone clearly, sat down with a team and said, okay, I want to do a TV show. I want to do something that's within my comfort zone. But I also want to do something that I can have some fun with. And for anyone who doesn't know the story, he basically plays a sort of mafia captain who's goes to Tulsa to do a particular job, ends up staying there, and sort of slowly starts to muscle in on local businesses and create a bit of an empire for himself, which he's keen to actually make legitimate. Then various people to do with his past come down and try and muscle in on his business. I'm really cutting through the meat here. There's a lot of
Yeah, they
subplot.
basically just chucked him in there just to get rid of him, but not.
Yeah, it was to hide him away from a feud
Yeah.
initially, because some people wanted him dead, but they couldn't kill him outright. So various people go and try and kill him, and it's a lot of fun, and I think it's very clever. It's kind of got a fish out of water element. Feels like if you crossed The Sopranos with Dallas, you might have ended up with something like this. I like the way it's shot, I like the way it looks. The opening title sequence is really quite clever. It's a good show. And season 2 is off to a cracking start. We're already on episode 3. I give the overall season 1, I would give an 8.5 out of 10. And so far, collectively, I'd give season 2 an 8 out of 10. Solid season 2, episode 3, I'd give a 9 out of 10. So this is a really good show that's worth your time. Who else has seen it? Anyone?
I've seen the first series, but honestly, I didn't even realize the first series came out on the 15th of September. So I'm really going to have to catch up on this.
Right. You mean you haven't sailed the high seas yet?
No, I have been sailing the high seas for Penguin and the Shield. So it's just finding the time as well, because I'm doing other stuff at the moment.
Penguin's available on Now TV in UK. So
it's been pretty good up so far. But I think you already talked about it last week, didn't you? So.
Well, we talked about episode 1. We can you can chip in on that now before we go to Penguin. Has anyone else seen Tulsa King?
No, it's on the list. I've heard great stuff, but I normally wait for these series to get a couple of seasons under the belt before I watch them.
Yeah,
because I'm fed up of stuff getting cancelled. Basically,
yeah.
I don't want to get invested in something that just gets cancelled halfway through. That's happened.
Or doing the old bait and switch where it starts out pretty good and then just ends up being crap.
Yeah, or that exactly.
Heroes
comes to mind.
But
yeah, I mean, fortunately, the good news is that so far this is pretty consistent. This is pretty decent. So
what's going on with his face here? Go back. What?
Yeah, well, he's had all those plastic surgeries over the years.
Or is he supposed to be like beaten up and half of his face is swollen?
No,
I don't know. I think Stallone is just like 80% plastic. Now,
Mr. Potato Head.
Don't forget as well, like Stallone is not a young man.
He's 70 something, isn't he?
Yeah.
Just age gracefully, man. Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, Blue Collar Loser's right. Taylor Sheridan is responsible for producing a fair bit of content on Paramount Plus. You've got The Mayor of Kingstown, which is an absolute blinder of a show for anyone who's not
Then you
watched
get like the AMC situation where Walking Dead is their best show, so everything just has to be zombie related. So now it's like Taylor Sheridan, everything without him. Like, what happens if he decides to leave? I'm not going to produce a show for Paramount Plus.
But basically, listen, Walter Hill says every movie's a Western. Taylor Sheridan is definitely imbuing that philosophy because everything he produces has got a Western kind of.
Yeah, I mean, I too like Taylor Sheridan stuff for sure. He's
like you had Yellowstone, and then you've got all the spin-offs. So
this is my favorite scene in this series. I can't remember what the scene's about, but it's definitely my favorite scene. Okay,
let you spoil it.
The framing of that's just lovely, isn't it?
Yeah, indeed. That's a proper cowgirl in the middle right there. So let's move on and talk about Penguin. We have mentioned it last week. Not everybody had seen it then. I was raving about it. It was actually me that gave Drinker a call when I was 20 minutes in and said, "Mate, you want to watch this? It's good." And he liked it as well. So it is a good show. Episode 2 is out. Has anyone seen episode 2 yet?
Not yet.
Yeah, I have. It's I am actually liking it as well. It kind of and it does kind of solve the little problem I had with the first episode, where I thought he was trusting the kid a bit too quick. But this actually has made that little part of the storyline in the first episode better now, because we are seeing that he is becoming a bit skeptical of Victor, who was supposed to be stealing the jewels, but he messes it up, and he's wondering, this kid just chokes right now. Is he going to get me in more trouble?
I think that kid probably needs to die by the end of season 1 for the show to work. but we'll see what it depends what the kid does. It depends on how the kid redeems himself. But yeah, I mean, Colin Farrell, man, just phenomenal in this role. I said it.
He was good in the movie. He was great in the movie.
Yeah, he was. He was the best thing in the movie.
Yeah,
he was.
He just didn't have much to work with here. He really does. We really get a chance to see him as a character, and his family as well. His private life, and we also get to know that he is a very cunning guy who's very good at adapting to the situation. That if his plans don't go if his plans don't go as well as he wants them to or needs them to.
Does it feel like it's in Gotham? Does it? Because I've not seen it yet. Does it feel like a Batman show?
It feels like the Gotham of that movie, not the Gotham of other Batman movies.
No, that's what you'd expect. But I was just, is it just a generic crime drama that could be anything, or does it actually have the trappings of
it's
the
Scarface
Batman universe?
It's Scarface with the Penguin in the Batman universe. That's basically what it is.
Yeah, Penguin's kind of like the low foot soldier, isn't he? Where people kind of just see him as nobody. Like it's kind of like Al Pacino in Donnie Brasco. This just
this is going to be his rise to power, then, basically.
Yeah. Yeah, people are very underestimating him. They don't realise that he is actually smarter than they make him out to be. And he's played it safe for so long now. But because his operation has been threatened by the powers that be, they're telling him to shut it down, and he doesn't want to because he's been working hard for this all his life.
You mean actual character development? Surely not.
Yeah, and he's deciding, right, screw these guys, I'm going to take over, because if I listen to these other guys, these guys in more power or a higher ranking, they're going to destroy everything I've worked for.
Cool.
So I want to talk about it. I want to talk about this actor before anybody else says anything. So the actor on screen now, we're doing The Shield at the moment on Sundays. For anyone who hasn't watched that show, it's absolutely amazing. I mean, it's better than all the shows that we're talking about tonight put together.
Phenomenal TV.
Very, very good. Very, very good writing. Exceptionally good acting.
You just kept keep wanting to watch it. That was the thing with The Shield.
You do, yeah.
You kept wanting to watch it to see what happened. It's so good.
You burned through it. So this actor on screen now is the same actor who is Dutch's serial killer in season 1. Who's got the 23 bodies under the crawl space of his aunt's house. So, which is one of my favorite episodes of season 1. When we get there, we're doing episodes 6 and 7 this Sunday, 8:00. Looking forward to that. With also Lord Toxic on the panel, myself, Inside Man, and Blue Collar Loser. If you can make it, Northern, you can come back for that one if you're free.
Oh, I definitely will. I will.
So, this actor whose name I've not got up on screen at the minute, he was also one of the villains in the first season of 24. He's really good. So, sacrilege to say that, Nick. Sacrilege. The Shield is lame. Utter nonsense. Utter nonsense. Best shows ever. And I'm quite happy to go head to head with you on a live argument on live.
I can understand somebody saying they didn't care for the theme or for the story, but I think you have to accept that it is amazingly well made television.
Extremely well made, extremely
Nick
well
doesn't
written,
mean that.
acted and directed. It might not be your cup of tea that you can say that, but you can't say that.
There was a scene in this episode where Penguin kind of opens up to Sophia, and I'm thinking, is he sort of trying to get her on the side, or is he trying to sort of manipulate her just to sort of like, because he knows that she knows that he killed her brother in a way. Well, he knows that she suspects him. So I don't know if he's trying to sort of like get her off his back a little bit, and because he's going out of his way to frame other people for stuff he hasn't done. To manipulate
there's a lot of subtle things going on in this, which I thank you so much, Depenzo. The actor's name is Michael Kelly. He's a superb actor, superb character actor, never out of work. If he was also in the TV show with the remake of the British show House of Cards, the one with Kevin Spacey that kind of ended because They could.
I first recognized him from what was it, Dawn of the Dead remake? He's one of the security guards, the head security guard.
Yeah.
That was bothering me for ages. Yes, you're right. Now I know.
He also has a great tiny role in what was that movie with Gerard Butler? What's it? Not Citizen, Law-Abiding Citizen. There you go.
Oh, Law-Abiding Citizen. Yeah. Luke, what would you give episode 2 of Penguin?
Yeah, I give it a 9 out of 10. It's really evolving the story a little bit more, and it is kind of upping the stakes a tiny bit more as well. And I'm hoping they haven't, and I'm really hoping they haven't blown their load already, because I don't want to continue seeing this guy. I kind of want to see him win, but I kind of want to see Sophia win a little bit as well, because I am starting to feel a little sorry for her.
Yeah. So Blue Collar Losers asking if Nick's can be the first person to be banned in chat. He would not be the first. Don't forget the big spam bot attack that we had, where we had to ban about 50 bots, and then there were actually people that were not AI who were coming on, who were real people that were involved in that as well. That was absolute nuts.
And like I said, the little subtle moments, the words that I said, but the meaning behind what they're saying as well, and the fact that Oswald looks like he's opening up to her, but you don't know if he genuinely means it or if he is manipulating her, or both. I love that.
Yeah, I think he's playing her basically.
Oh, it definitely is. But I think he kind of sympathises with her a tiny bit as well. Maybe. Who knows?
Has anybody else seen Penguin episode 2? Anyone?
No, not yet.
Okay. All right. Well, that's it on the Penguin. We do recommend it. So if you haven't seen it, give it a go. It might not be for everybody, but so far, so good in my opinion. So Stupenzo, what do you have on your recommendation hidden Halloween sack this week?
Well, I do have a couple horror movies, but first I wanted to recommend another documentary series that was just like McMahon. It was just obvious that the people making this documentary they realized, like, at some point in the middle of making this documentary, they were capturing lightning in a bottle kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's basically the same people who made Tiger King. But it was only 4 episodes. It's on HBO instead of Netflix, and it was way crazier. I mean, there was not a lot of gay meth sex in this one.
What's it called?
It's called Chimp Crazy. It was insane, dude. It's basically about
what? Give me the title again. I didn't hear it.
Chimp Crazy. Sorry,
Chimp Crazy.
Yeah, it's about crazy people who own chimps. Yeah, owning chimpanzees. And what was interesting is, the guy who made Tiger King already became pretty notorious because of that. So he felt that they wouldn't trust him to do the documentary. So what they did is they hired like this former Animal Planet actor who to pose as a proxy director of the documentary. So he was going in, like, getting all this backstage look at these chimp sanctuaries, these chimp zoos. And yeah, it's basically about this woman primarily. And she's kind of like, the Tiger King, but she's a woman and she's into chimps. But it really gets crazy because, she's got like 5 or 6 chimps that live in this kind of, zoo she owns. And they basically live in cages, and it's pretty sad. And they talk about, owning monkeys in general and chimps in general. And they talk about, obviously, Travis the chimp who went crazy and mauled that one woman. They talk about another chimp who did something similar. But what's crazy is, it's kind of documenting this legal battle that the state and PETA is having with this woman, basically trying to take her chimps away and put them in a sanctuary in Florida. And one of the chimps that she has is actually a famous Hollywood chimp named Tonka, who's been in a bunch of movies you've seen. He was one of the chimps in Buddy. He's been in a bunch of movies. He was in Wolf of Wall Street briefly. He's the chimp that Leonardo DiCaprio is holding. Basically, what they tell you is, like, once the chimp becomes 5 years old, they become too big and too dangerous to work with, so they pretty much get locked away usually, and or go to a sanctuary or something. And Alan Cumming, famous actor, he worked with Tonka in the movie Buddy. He knew him, and he always heard that he retired into a sanctuary, and he was actually kind of mortified to find out that wasn't true. So he kind of joined forces with PETA, and The documentary really takes a turn though, because they are going to confiscate the chimps, and the owners say, by the way, one of the chimps is missing. It's Tonka. He passed away a few days ago because he had congenital heart failure. Turns out that's not true. Like, they all suspected that she was hiding the chimp somewhere, and of course she's got this documentary crew that's following them. And yeah, that's kind of like a big reveal at the one of the episodes is like finding this chimp Tonka. It was a wild movie or documentary. About 4 hours long.
I'm totally sold on this. I have to watch this. Has anyone else seen it?
No. But yeah, I'm sold on this. Yeah.
She does those songs as well, does she? You know, I saw a chimp.
I know. She does get lip filler regularly, and they document that process pretty rigorously. It's crazy.
Let's have a quick look at the trailer for this.
Tonka and I just found each other, and Tonka loved me as much as I loved Tonka. It was meant to be. It was just natural. It's like your love for God. And I'll do anything to protect that primate. Anything.
This woman is stark raving hat stand.
Yeah. I mean, what's sad is you do kind of understand that chimps do love their owners too. Kind of like how a dog, dogs are loyal, and if they have an abusive owner, they still love their owner. But what sucks is when one of these chimps snaps, has had enough. It's basically, they say, when you buy a chimp, you're basically just building up to a huge disaster. A huge tragedy is inevitable. It's going to happen.
They're not particularly nice creatures in the wild. They're one of the few animal species that actually does murder.
They're vicious, and even if they're vicious, they're insanely powerful.
It's brutal.
What spiders do they eat? Al, I want to know what spiders chimp eat.
A chimp would probably eat any spider we could come across. So obviously they're in Africa.
But they sure can peel a banana.
Yeah, apparently we all do it wrong. They do it the other way around.
Yeah, they're cannibals.
Yeah, no, that's the right way round. That's actually the right way round. If you turn it,
I peel bananas upside down too. Yeah, you peel them upside down because you won't get those little strands. Those little strands that stick to the banana.
That's the correct way of peeling. Yeah,
it is.
Damn. See, chimps could teach us a few things. But I mean, chimps eat other chimps. So chimps, they'll do anything. They're complete omnivores.
Right.
And because they're smart, they can outwit most of their prey. So they'll hunt other chimps and they'll do whatever they need to do.
Damn.
Totally. And, I think it's because they're not particularly large animals, but I think because of that, you assume they're not that strong. It's like, dude, they're like
strong.
5 times stronger than the strongest man you know.
Yeah.
Okay. God. Never assume. That's the mother of all fuck ups.
I'll never forget. There was a show on Animal Planet, or was it? I think it was Animal Planet, but it was basically like some kind of show where we were pitting humans against animals, and seeing, how much faster an animal is than a human, or how much stronger an animal is than a human. They had a sumo wrestler do a tug of war with an orangutan, and keep in mind the sumo wrestler's like trying. He's like, he knows it's a game and he's got to win. The orangutan is just like playing, like just kind of tugging on the rope. Dude, you'd be shocked how far he pulled this 400-pound sumo wrestler with just one arm. This orangutan, dude, they're so strong. And I think if you ever encounter a chimp, like get to, hang out with one and shake its hand, I think you realize really quickly, like, dude, these things are all muscle.
Yeah. Well,
what happens when you spend your life swinging through trees?
That's a good recommendation right there. Thanks for bringing that one to our attention.
I will just say that Enzo could recommend the worst possible film or the worst possible TV series, and I'd buy it. I'd be in. Anything that he recommends.
As long as I'll hook you with like a specific point in the plot. You're like, I'm intrigued.
He can sell it. He'll sell it. He's great.
Yeah, so we're going to check out Chimp Crazy and report back. What would you give this out of 10, Enzo?
Oh man, I would say like 8, 9 out of 10. Man, it was, and also it wasn't too long because Vince McMahon documentary being 8 episodes. This is like half that. But but
Yeah, I mean,
still,
Tiger King
riveting.
probably went on a bit longer.
Tiger
than it
King was
should
like
have.
10 episodes, I think I remember.
And then
that
you
was-
had
that was-
the second season of Tiger King where he's like in the prison.
I haven't even seen that. I forgot that's a thing.
Yeah, but they carried on with the strange lady. Hello, cats and kittens. Oh my god, just
Right.
hearing that voice, just
No,
Yeah,
this
she
woman
killed her
is
husband. She did.
yeah, this woman is literally chimp crazy. I would check it out. It's worth a watch. And yeah, that's the other thing they touch on is like typically these monkey collectors, chimp owners, they all tend to be women and they all tend to treat their chimps like babies, like children. It's weird.
Right. Okay, so Inside Man. What you got?
Yeah, I mean, I've well, I've got a couple of recommendations. The first one, it's you may have seen it. I think everyone here may have actually seen it. And I'm probably going to score it before I do anything else. I'm actually going to score it a 10 out of 10.
Okay.
Right. So
Give me the title.
It's called Industry Interviews number 77. And it's a massive recommendation, right? And I think it's actually a very important interview. It's not just a good interview. I think it's an important interview because you managed to relax Galen Hurd so well, and it was she was revealing things that I think a lot of people wouldn't have had revealed. But there was one specific thing, and the point really was that when you asked her, what makes a good producer, and her response was basically this, and I'm paraphrasing here, that you have to have worked your way up. You have to have worked in the business. You have to have worked cleaning toilets. You have to have worked making coffees and photocopying and sending faxes and emails and making phone calls and sweeping the floor and doing all of that kind of shit stuff, all those shitty jobs, because there are so many people that try to come into this business thinking that the upper tier level, that is the starting point, that's their entry level, being a producer or being a director, that's going to be their entry point, and it really is not. Everybody, excuse me, everybody who's really made something of themselves in this business as a producer, writer, director, and I'm not talking about the fly-by-nights, I'm not talking about the writers' rooms and the one-offs and the DEI hires or anything like that. I'm talking about the real solid producers, directors, and writers in this business have all done that. They've all done the shitty jobs. They've all worked their way up from literally nothing, absolutely nothing. And I can tell you that some of the jobs that I've done, although they, it kind of, might seem, quite interesting and fascinating to some people to say that you've worked on, say, Return to Oz, or you've done several movies with Michael Caine, or you've done, you've done several war movies and a couple of science fiction movies and all that kind of stuff in your early days, and worked in TV, worked for the BBC and all that, right? Which I have, and I'm not blowing my own trumpet here, but most of those were really shit jobs. I mean, on Return to Oz, I was polishing floors for about 6 weeks. That's all I was doing. I was polishing floors. On Death Wish 3, I was carrying around a big bag with Michael Winner's cigars, and basically shadowing Michael Winner wherever he was, wherever he went. And it's important to do those jobs to work your way up in the business, to acquire the knowledge, because every single job that you're on, there's no better education than being in the business, than being on the set, than being there. And she illustrated that absolutely perfectly. But it is a fantastic interview, and real congratulations to you for that, Lance. You really pulled it off with aplomb. You really did. It was absolutely incredible, an incredible interview. And I'm genuinely genuinely proud of you for having done that. You know, I mean, your interviews have been amazing. I've watched them all the way through from your first one with the lovely Jason Flemyng right the way
Yeah.
through to now, and they've been brilliant. They've been absolutely brilliant. You know, every single one. So my recommendation for anybody that's watching right now, go to industry interview number 77, right? But work your way back or work your way through the rest of them from 77 all the way through to number 1. They really are fascinating. And if anybody wants to know anything about the business, these interviews will give you an incredible insight into what it's like working in this industry. It's not easy. It really is not an easy business to be in. It can be
Well,
very, very tiring, very tiresome,
indeed.
very soul destroying. But yeah, they're great interviews. But this was quite remarkable, I think. And honestly, I'm really proud of you for having done that. It's just a wonderful, wonderful interview. It really is. And like I said, 10 out of 10.
I haven't watched it back yet, but I've just noticed somebody in the chat said, looks like Lance is going through his managing a boy band era. I like it. So I had a black shirt on. And, I think that's so clearly, if I put a black shirt on, that's what I'm going to get. Well, look, thanks for that. I'm blushing here a bit, but I appreciate it. I was incredibly nervous before it started. I wasn't nervous about interviewing Gail. I was nervous about the fact that we were doing the interview via Zoom, which I was very rusty on and has all changed since I was using it in lockdown. All the features are completely different. The layout's slightly different. All the buttons are in different places. And plus, you know, I'd forgotten some of it. And then we had things we needed to play during the interview, like the thank you video and so forth. And the fact that we were streaming it via Zoom, via StreamYard to YouTube, that, you know, that's 3 ways that things can go wrong. So my nerves were all about it crashing, and because I knew if there was a technical F up, she wasn't going to come back on. So it had to technically be flawless. Unfortunately, apart from a tiny little glitch at the beginning, it was fine. So yeah, and Gail actually agreed to come on the stream.
You managed to have a, you know, really open up and relax, and how you did it. I mean, you know, it obviously, you know, it's you know, you've really refined how you do these interviews.
Well, I've also talked to her before, so it wasn't like it was the first time we were speaking, which makes a difference, you know, and so I was able to kind of you know, go for that kind of chilled sort of two mates chatting kind of angle, which is what that's the atmosphere I always want to try and create. But thank you. Thank you for the kind words.
So no, you're welcome, and you know, I'll always say credit where credit's due. You know, it really is incredible, but there's so many interviews that you've done, an additional 76 interviews that you've done where, you know, people have said, oh, you know, you've only got me for an hour or so. But they've been so comfortable with the interview that they've been on for an extra 40 minutes or an extra hour or an extra hour and a half.
Yeah, Milana Jackson was only going to be, I think, 70 minutes. And she said, well, you know, I said, if we can go to 90, that'd be great. She said, I'll give you as long as I can. And I think we were on for 2.5. So,
but there are a very, very good, collection of interviews with people that will give them such an incredible insight, an insight that you probably wouldn't get on any other channel, I don't think.
No, probably not. That's what I'm going for.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think there's anybody that's doing this kind of thing, which makes your channel absolutely unique. But it's, you know, it's not just it's not just entertaining; it's educational as well, because there are an enormous amount of young people, I'm sure, that are watching this, that watch these interviews, that want to try and glean some form of knowledge from them, that may be under the impression that their entry level into the business is director, producer, screenwriter, straight away. And as we both know, that's absolutely not the case. But this series of interviews that you do, that really emphasizes that, because you have people talking about their careers, their early careers and how they started. And I think that's incredibly important. I think it's a very, very important subject to discuss, because the people that are aspiring to come into the business are going to be the next entertainers, if you like. And if anything can give them any kind of education that is outside of film school, which obviously is very, very expensive, but if anything can give them any genuine information, not from a book that has been written by somebody who has never worked in the business, and there are so many of them, a plethora of these books written by people that know nothing about screenwriting, or at least write books on screenwriting and know nothing about screenwriting. Save the Cat being one of them. I mean, just briefly, my loathing for Save the Cat. Blake Snyder, who wrote Save the Cat, his one big gig was Stop or My Mom Will Shoot.
Oh
Now,
my God, that's a terrible movie as well.
Who on earth? I mean, who on earth? Well, how did he think? And I mean, I know the man is no longer with us, and I don't like to speak ill of the dead. But how on earth did he genuinely believe that he was supremely qualified to create a screenwriting system for people in Save the Cat and the rest of the Save the Cat books? That's a terrible movie. That's a terrible script, and.
Well,
yeah.
topic for another time. I have to tell you,
Yeah.
your fan timer has now well and truly run out, despite
Right,
you gushing praise for me.
Okay.
Do you have a film to recommend for us, though?
I do actually.
Give us it quick then, and then
Okay,
we'll
right,
move on to that.
The Russells. All You Need Is Cash.
I've got this.
Yeah.
So this is a Monty Python-esque.
Yeah, it's a kind of a post Python Eric Idle project.
Yeah. For anyone who doesn't know what this movie is, imagine if somebody in the 70s made This Is Spinal Tap, but instead of taking the piss out of the heavy metal rock and roll scene, they took the piss out of the Beatles.
Exactly.
So that's what this movie is. And so what you get is the Ruttles, All You Need Is Cash, as opposed to All You Need Is Love. It was scripted by and starring Eric Idle from Monty Python. And they did a huge number of there's like parody footage with the Queen, played by well-known Queen Elizabeth impersonator Jeanette Charles. Mick Jagger's in it playing himself. It's shot like a completely authentic documentary.
Yeah.
George Harrison, Ronnie Wood there. It's very funny, actually. And it's actually aged quite well, because I watched it not that long ago, and it's still quite funny.
Yeah, it is very good. And the music, I mean, written by Eric Idle and Neil Innes, is fantastic.
There's Gene Wilder's ex-wife, Gilda Radner there.
Yeah, and of course John Belushi's in it, Dan Aykroyd's in it, Bill Murray's in it. Yeah, it's a very, very good film. Very
the whole
good.
thing's on
very
YouTube.
Good parody. Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Can you grab the link for it, Al? Drop it in the private chat. I'll whack it up in the chat.
Sure can.
It is. It's very funny. This bit was really good, where it's sort of parodying John Lennon later with Yoko Ono. Here, he marries this like former Hitler SS officer.
Yeah.
Just as bad, kind of, is what they're trying to say. If you haven't seen it, it's Enzo. You definitely would love this if you haven't seen it.
I already know I will.
Yeah,
but there was there was a moment where they were shooting. I think it may have been in London or New York. And Eric Idle was talking with Neil Innes, who played the John Lennon character.
Right.
And George Harrison was with them. And a girl ran up to Neil Innes and said, "Oh, are you one of the Beatles? Are you John Lennon? Are you the real John Lennon?" And he said, "No." But George Harrison was standing right next to her, and she didn't recognize him,
Right.
which is bizarre. She actually had a Beatle standing right next to her, and she didn't know that it was George Harrison. But Neil Innes was a real star, I think. One of the sort of unofficial members of Python. Did Life of Brian and did the music, a lot of the music for Holy Grail, or scored the entire Holy Grail, but never got used.
How smoking hot is Bianca Jagger there, man? God.
But Mick Jagger was fantastic in this. I mean, he really played along with it. Yeah.
Yeah, he did. He just kind of went for it, didn't he? And it's
Yeah,
when they do the Beatles reunion, but it's on top of like a school roof or something. And there's all these kids watching.
Yeah.
Ruttles,
it's
ouch.
really good. Yeah.
instead of shout, it's ouch.
Yeah, it's really good, really very good.
And then an album called Beatles No Ruttles, ushering in a new era of music. Yeah, it is good.
There was one track they did, which my favorite Beatles track of all time is "I'm the Walrus." It's my absolute favorite, and they did a really good parody of that. Really, very, very good, and it's got all of the kind of George Martin sort of studio tropes in there. It's just brilliantly done. Really pulled it off.
Fantastic. What would you give it out of 10?
This is a 9, actually.
9?
Yeah, it really is. I loved it. I really loved it.
Yeah, I'd give it a solid 8 out of 10. Anybody else seen it?
Negative.
I've been meaning to watch it, but I always forget. I mean, I've been wanting to watch this for a few years, but like I said, sometimes other things get in the way. It's annoying.
I know, relationships, life, job, that kind of stuff. Well,
and booze.
I'm dropping the link for it.
I already did.
In chat. Head of Outcast Australia is in the chat. So Chaos on Netflix, slow burn. Well, Gary, if you've got a recommendation for us, mate, why don't you come in? I'll send you the link, because we haven't had Outcast Australia on for a bit. Yeah, okay, good. Northern, have you got a recommendation?
Yes, the 1979 Dracula movie with Frank Langella.
Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it seems to get a little bit ignored, Frank Langella as Dracula, because it's a shame, because he is fucking cool in that movie. He's just he's just pure charisma. He's the moment he walks into that room with Jonathan Harkness and Lucy and Mina, he just owns the bloody room. The way he just passes his cape to the help without even looking at him and acknowledging the women in the room. Even the women are kind of going crazy for him. Every time he's on stream,
I don't think I've seen it.
It's good. I mean, you got John Williams doing the score as well, and it's a really great score. It's probably John Williams at his most goth. Something I never thought could exist, and it's really well done. Donald Pleasance is very good in it, as well as I forgot the name of the character. Is the Doctor in it?
Laurence Olivier
as Van Helsing as well, and I think I have my complaints a little bit with Laurence Olivier as Van Helsing for one scene, but it's got some great imagery. It's Frank Langella, and once again, Frank Langella is scary, but he's also very cool, and he's very charming, and you kind of want to hang out with him. You kind of want him to win a little bit as well.
I think now I look at these images, I think I did see this the once when it was on telly, did quite like it. He does look a bit like someone who's got a magic show at in Las Vegas in that shot. But
Yeah, it looks like, someone with a magic show but can kill you as well.
But Frank Langella, you got to read his biography. It's so good, and of course, he was kind of cancelled. This whole thing over a lovemaking scene that he was doing. The whole and they had the whole thing with they have, what do you call them, intimacy advisors now. It's a whole thing. It's not. I mean, I get why you have them. I think in modern times it's probably, advisable to employ them depending on the nature of the film. I don't think you need to have an intimacy advisor if you're having actors in a scene where they have to kiss. Surely that's a discussion between the actors and the director, and you have a conversation around, what you're comfortable with. I don't think you need to do a workshop to do that, because if you do, you're just going to kill that kiss, man. You're going to overthink that kiss. You're going to kill it.
You're going to it's going to be sterilized, isn't it?
Yeah, but if you've got a partial nudity or a sex scene to do, sure, intimacy advisor, I would agree absolutely.
Especially in the wake of Me Too.
Yeah, I think it just protects both actors.
Exactly.
But they were doing a scene, and I forget the film that he was in, and he basically put his hand on the actress's leg, as I understand it. I read his account of it, and I read his thought process and everything behind it, and all of the mechanizations that went wrong that happened around it. And my take on it is that people overreacted. I don't think he did anything terribly wrong, but as a result of, the production company then all kind of taking everything to the 11th degree, he ultimately ended up getting fired. And, he said publicly, they're trying to cancel me. And, and it nearly ended his career. It hasn't, but because he's an extremely well respected actor. His book is incredible. It's every chapter is a different story about somebody famous that he's met. And the most interesting story is the time that he was with the Kennedys in Hyannisport, with Marilyn, not Marilyn Monroe, but the official Jacqueline
Marilyn
Kennedy.
Manson.
No,
Marilyn Manson.
No, Jacqueline Kennedy, sitting in the lounge with Jacqueline Kennedy, like playing tunes on the piano, and helicopter lands and Jack arrives, and them all sitting around for dinner. I mean, so yeah. I mean, he's a phenomenal actor.
It's very good.
He's particularly good.
He doesn't top Christopher Lee or Bela Lugosi, but bloody hell, he almost does. He comes really close. I mean, he just oozes pure charisma. It's like, he's so cool in it. He's so cool.
There's Detective Shoestring on the right there.
Yeah, Donald Pleasant's always good. Trevor Eve as well from Waking the Dead. He was really young.
Yeah, Trevor Eve is who I meant. He was Detective Shoestring in a show.
Yeah, that was Shoestring. Eddie Shoestring.
Eddie Shoestring.
Yeah, Eddie Shoestring.
I've heard a lot of stories about Trevor Eve. We won't get into those now.
Yeah. Fandad Menace has actually got some interesting stories about Trevor Eve. That we won't discuss.
No, not the most easy-tempered individual on a set. In the meantime, Donald Pleasant says, "Have a cookie." What would you give this out of 10?
I give it a good 9 out of 10. It's got its flaws. It probably doesn't top other Dracula movies, but bloody hell, it comes real close. It's just fun. It's well directed by John Badham, and it's got some great imagery as well. I mean, there is probably a sex scene where...
Was this John Badham that directed this?
Badham, yeah.
God. Has it got a big car chase in it?
No,
if it hasn't, what's going on?
It kind of has like a car and a horse chase.
I thought it's got to have a chase. It's got to. If Badham's directing it, it's going to have a chase scene in it somewhere.
He's a lovely director.
If it's Horton Cart, Horton Cart, that'll be it. But okay. So, has anyone else seen it? And what rating would you give it out of 10?
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, I'd easily give it an 8.5, maybe. Yeah, probably even a 9. Actually,
I haven't seen it recently enough to give it a rating. I have seen it, but it was once and a long time ago, so I can't rate it at the moment. Al, have you seen it?
No, I've not seen this. I'll have to give it a watch and check it out.
Add it to the
worth it, mate.
It's a long list. It's a very long list these days.
looks like something you and your pet spiders would enjoy. Al, do you have a recommendation for us? Any film, TV show you've seen
I've got a
recently that you've enjoyed?
Couple of films that I'll chuck your way, both involving old men. One is a Clint Eastwood film called The Mule.
I've seen that. It's been a while ago since I saw it, but it's a great one. Good film. I like it.
2018 film. He plays a very old sort of man who basically becomes a drug mule for the cartel. Sort of just gets some extra money originally.
I love that one.
Ends up enjoying it, and I really enjoyed that film. I thought it was a very good, sobering performance by Eastwood.
Did he direct? Did he direct it?
He did direct it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's got Bradley Cooper in it. It's got Lawrence Fishburne in it. Good actors. I felt that maybe it was a little bit disjointed in places, but it did do a good job of presenting a multifaceted take on the character. I can't remember his name now. Earl Stone, I think it is, or something. He's a gardener.
I saw this at the cinema, actually.
Yeah.
Looking at the pictures, I remember. Yeah,
it was just a random Netflix pick. I was just like, Clint Eastwood's normally pretty solid, and it was good. There was no kind of messaging or anything like that. Like because he's really old, he says a couple of racist things, but it's not a big deal's made out of it. It's just he's old.
No, and he's very good at kind of like beguiling people who think he's not a threat because he's old,
Yeah. Oh no, he's switched on. The bit where he uses hand cream to deter or to confuse the drug dogs when he's carrying a load of drugs in the back of his pickup truck. It's brilliant. I was like, man, he might be 90, but he knows what he's doing. So that was a good watch.
This is Alison Eastwood in this shot. So is that one of Clint's daughters?
Yes. So basically he's estranged from his family. He's not been there over the years. He's got an ex.
No, I know the plot of the movie. I meant in real life.
Oh, in real life.
This is Alison Eastwood in this still that we've got up now. Is she one of his daughters, or is this Clint Eastwood's incredibly attractive younger wife? I'm not sure. I know he's got other kids.
IMDb to the rescue. He's probably got loads of kids.
I think his wife passed away recently, didn't she?
Oh, did she? Oh, that's
I believe so.
Yeah, talking about his ex Sandra Logue.
No, God no. No, they've been apart for God knows how long.
That's she passed away not too long ago either.
No,
it looks like a coincidence. Doesn't look like she's related to Clint Eastwood.
Sandra Logue passed away quite a few years ago. Wasn't that recent?
And she was the reason why he had to keep working.
Yeah. I mean, that was that. There's a whole story there. You can make a movie.
There really is. Yeah.
That movie probably won't be made until after Clint Eastwood's gone, but somebody will do a big. Somebody will do a big drama Clint Eastwood biopic, and they'll probably get like Bradley Cooper to play Eastwood.
Eastwood, yeah.
They probably will. They will. He'll have to be somebody like
his son, Scott. Scott is actually a very underrated actor.
Yeah, I think Scott's good.
I mean, when you consider that he's 90 years old and he's still doing it, he's still knocking it out.
Amazing.
He's still giving great performances.
He's still directing. Props to the man.
Absolutely phenomenal. This was 4 years ago. This is 6 years ago now.
I liked The Mule. I'd give it a solid 8.5. I know you got another one that just.
Yeah, about an 8 is what I would. It's about an 8. Is what
I give it 8.5. Anyone else seen The Mule? Want to give it a rating quickly?
I give it an 8 out of 10. It's not his best, but it's still a very good, reflective movie.
Yeah, 7.5 out of 10 probably. It was good.
Okay,
a good 8. Yeah, I'll give it an 8.
All right. We now have to say in unison. Do you come from a land down under? Dun, 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 dun. A Gary Bolter, rapes and plunders. Oh, we're not allowed to say Hello, how are you?
Hey, Gaza man.
I'm well. Hello. You said come in, so here I am. Just before an audition.
I did. Have you seen the Clint Eastwood film The Mule from 2018?
A while ago. Although I have been listening to a podcast about how Clint Eastwood didn't treat Sandra Logue very well. It's called You Must Remember This, and by golly, it's a shocker the things he did, but maybe that's for another podcast.
Well, indeed, I just corrected your name there for you. Al, you had a second Clint Eastwood offering. What was that?
It wasn't a Clint Eastwood. It's just another old man. Now, we've all seen these Liam Neeson films of late, and some of them have been very, very bad.
Yeah.
Where he increasingly tries to convince us that he's still a man with a special set of skills, even though he's well past 70. But I did watch one recently that was not awful. Another just a random Netflix film, and it was a film called Memory.
Do you know what? I've kind of hovered over that and gone, should I watch this, or am I just going to see another Clint Eastwood? I mean, and I want to kill you.
It's not bad. It's got a couple of little changes to it that make it worth watching. For one thing, I mean, Liam Neeson plays a hitman with a conscience as a job that he won't do, but he's suffering from Alzheimer's, which does play in the movie. His brother's already got the advanced form of it, and Liam Neeson plays its character called I think it's called David Murphy at one point, but his actual name is Alex Lewis, and he's got early stages of it. He's taking medication for it. His memory's starting to go. He's needing to write stuff down. But what makes this film a little bit of a cut above is you've basically got a very good committed performance from Guy Pearce, who's trying to bust a kind of child kind of sex ring. I don't want to get you demonetized.
Yeah. We know where you're going.
And they're both coming at it from different angles, with Neeson playing the hitman that's trying to get the people that tried to kill him for not doing the job to kill the child, who's a witness.
Right.
And Guy Pearce playing this FBI agent along with Michael Pena, I think it is. Who are trying to close in on the other side, and obviously they're at loggerheads. But what's great in this is, Liam Neeson is meant to be from El Paso, Texas. The character Alex Lewis is meant to be from El Paso, Texas, but he doesn't bother doing an accent.
I'm from El Paso, Texas.
Ray Stevenson,
who just passed away.
He did, yeah. This is actually his second to last film,
and this is Ray Fearon, British actor. That's Ray
right,
Fearon.
yeah. And Ray Stevenson does a pretty good Texan accent. He's like a Texan head of police, like not a sheriff, because I think because El Paso is like a city, it's too big to have like just a sheriff. I don't know what it'd be, Stupenzo, but he's like the head of police there.
Pretty big city, yeah.
And Monica Bellucci plays the head, the matriarch of the family that's kind of overseeing the whole ring.
Right.
And
now we got Mark Hamill here, who's been beaten up on the way to a Star Wars convention by the tied to the wheel of his car.
But compared to a lot of what Liam Neeson has been putting out recently, because he has been putting out films like a man who's got debt to pay, this was all right.
Yeah, do you know what? I'm actually looking at it. I'm thinking I might watch this when we come off air. This might be my next watch.
Yeah, I mean, it was a couple of hours that I just did not feel I had my time wasted. There's some fairly good writing. There's some bad acting, but there's some good acting. Guy Pearce, as I say, being a highlight. And there's some good stuff in it. It's not awful.
Netflix, is it? Netflix?
Yeah, Netflix. I think it's also on Prime, to be honest.
What would you give it out of 10?
Ooh, I'd give it a 7. I think it's worth a watch, and that is slightly buoyed by some of the other stuff that I've seen Liam Neeson do recently. That I'm like, you did just want the paycheck. In this, he does seem to be a bit more committed, and there's a few twists in it that kept me interested. And it's an all right watch.
Well, seeing as somebody put this comment in the chat earlier, now it's time for our new special segment, Australian of the Week. Okay,
Australian of the Week.
So Gary.
Yes, what an intro! I'm so excited.
Fantastic. I mean, you're technically not even Australian, but you're in Australia, and it's close enough. So
comes out.
I mean, you're technically an Australian citizen, so technically you are Australian. So
it's still our country anyway, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You want to say that over here, mate?
Yeah.
Come over here and say that.
So, Gary, give us a quick breakdown of Chaos, and also, tell us a bit about it. I've seen the first 2 episodes, but tell us a bit about it, and then what you thought of it. I'm definitely not sneaking off for a wee, but go for it, Gary.
Okay. The general gist is if you think of the Greek gods, Zeus, Aphrodite, Poseidon, and it's set in the modern day. On this case, it's in the island of Crete, and it just follows the shenanigans of the Greek gods in a modern setting. And I have to say, I watched it because Jeff Goldblum plays Zeus, and he is well, I'm just a big fan of Jeff Goldblum, really. It's a slow burn, but if you kind of persevere by the end, it's sort of sets it up for a possible season 2. And look, worth a look for Jeff Goldblum as the maniacal Zeus, if anything. If just don't be put off by the first 2 rather slow episodes.
Yeah, I think that's what happened to me. I watched the first 2 and I was just like, it's not really grabbing me. So
I thought, fuck, I'll just no, I can't swear. I'll go for the 3rd, and it kind of got me by the 3rd one. Just the I mean, if you're familiar with the whole mythology as well, the Greek gods mythology, you'll kind of get something out of it as well. But by the end, I thought, not too bad.
If it's Jeff Goldblum, I mean, he's a weird guy, but come on, he's kind of fun to watch.
He's a great choice for Zeus. Yeah, he's a great choice for Zeus. Better than bloody Russell Crowe in the 4 movie, that's for sure.
Yeah, he looks like he was going to have a bloody heart attack in that movie. I mean, we've said the same thing in The Nice Guys. It was I love Russell Crowe, but he really piled on the pounds, sadly. And now
he's in his Elvis years.
That's going to be very hard to lose. It's going to be very hard to lose.
Yeah.
Well, he's not doing the kind of films where he will be required to lose it. That's the thing. You look at his most recent films; he did like 2 of them. I think he's played a priest or something.
Oh my God! The Italian
cover it all up with robes.
It's kind of going down the Marlon Brando route.
Oh, isn't he? Bless him.
Gary, what would you give Chaos out of 10?
Look, I'd give it probably 7 out of 10. It's not brilliant, but I'd certainly watch the second series. Should and if.
How much of it was there in the end? 8 episodes?
6.
Okay, 6 is pretty doable. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So it's an easy binge then. I'm all for that.
Anybody watch Fallout?
Yeah, I liked Fallout. It had its problems writing wise, but it was better than I thought it would be, and
I liked it.
Yeah. I've discovered yesterday they're doing a series 2.
They are. They pretty much went on that before the first one had finished, I think, due to the reception of it. I described Fallout as a shallow oasis in a sea of shit. It was one of the best things I'd seen for quite some time. It wasn't amazing, but it was pleasant to watch something that didn't actively try and insult me constantly.
Yeah. Big respect to Ella Parnell.
Ella Parnell was great.
She's so good.
And Walton Goggins, man. He makes that show. He's so good.
Yeah. Gary, have you got a link? Gary, have you got a link for your little short film where you're getting where there's that whole shooting going on outside? I don't want to give anything away.
The one where Lance kindly helped.
Have you got a link for it? I'll play it quickly if you. We can see. Now we've got it. Now we've got the next rising star of Hollywood in the house. I feel we need to show him in action.
Oh my God! Really? Okay. Yes. The pressure.
If you win.
It's only 2 minutes long. Where do I put it? In the chat? Okay.
Put it in the private chat and I'll copy and paste it.
Okay.
All right. Wicked. Let me see. Oh, it's on YouTube, isn't it? Cool.
Yeah.
All right. I'll see if I can show that in just a sec. Inside Man, I think you had another one, didn't you? Another recommendation.
I'm afraid it's this won't sort of jive with too many people. I know some people love it and some people absolutely loathe it. But I did recently rewatch 2001: A Space Odyssey, which I consider to be the greatest science fiction movie of all time, and I know so many other people do as well.
I know I was wrong.
Oh no, his signal's gone.
Oh.
What's happened? Oh no, we'll have to cover that film another time. That's a shame.
I thought you were going to say it was a sequel at first. I was like, oh dear, no.
No. Did you watch it on a particularly big screen, or is this just at home?
Yes, yeah, on a particularly big screen at home. Yeah.
Oh, on a particularly big screen at home.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's
off now.
yeah.
All right. Good.
Yeah, it's just wow. I mean, it never fails to impress me. I mean, it's just an incredible.
It's a singular
piece of
movie.
work.
It really is.
It really
Were you
is,
able
yeah.
to crack one off in timing with the music? You know.
Yeah, with Elsa Zarathustra. Yeah.
Not the blue Danube, no.
No.
Yeah, but the funny thing is, I mean, the original score, the original music, I can't remember who composed it, but it was scored, but Kubrick obviously rejected it, and he came up with obviously a series of different pieces of classical music. You know, the most famous being Elsa Sprach Zarathustra, which everybody now connects with 2001. But it's just, I mean, it really is just an incredible piece of work. It's very, very difficult to overstate how good this movie is, and how groundbreaking it is, and not how groundbreaking it was, but how groundbreaking it still is. We have those.
I wonder what Gen
fantastic
Z think
miniatures.
of it. I think they hate it.
To do it justice, we really would need to do a chew the fat on it. I will say that when I first saw it, I think it was screened on BBC Two when it debuted on television.
Yes, you're absolutely right. Yes, it was. Yeah.
And it was on over the holidays. I think it was a Christmas, but it might have been, and it dropped about sort of like maybe 8 o'clock in the evening, something like that. And of course, Star Wars had come out by this time, and and it was heavily trailered. First time on British TV. It's an intellectual film, so the BBC were allowed by ITV to buy it. And and I remember watching it as a kid, and I'm like, "What the fuck is going on? This is taking ages."
This is one of the first movies I remember seeing that made me really, really think.
Well, I was a child, young kid, so I didn't think that much about it. Mainly, what I thought was, where are the stormtroopers, and why is no one firing any lasers?
Because you've got to be really, really patient with this movie, because a lot of scenes just go on for so long. It's
the first Star Trek movie owed a lot to 2001.
Yeah, I mean, it did not work with that first Star Trek movie. It really didn't.
I took a load of kids to see that for my birthday. That's in the new book I'm writing. That when we broke down, the car broke down in the middle of the Tolworth roundabout, possibly one of the most deadliest places to break down in the UK. So by the time we got to the cinema to see Star Trek, we were all like traumatized, but and then we had to watch the film, which was almost equally traumatizing.
The director's cut's pretty good. I don't know if you've seen that.
I've seen the new cut. I think the new cut that's all been changed with updated effects and stuff. I think it's amazing.
It's a lot better.
But it has something in common with this film for me, which is that I saw this film as a kid. I hated it. I thought it was slow and boring. I saw this film as an adult. I appreciated it more. I saw it again after I became a filmmaker, and I saw so many more things in it. So a kid who's grown up on having a games console in their bedroom and streaming and a phone and all the rest of it, who hasn't seen that many films at the cinema, is not going to whack this on and think it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. But it's a groundbreaking film of its time, and I think the generation that appreciate this movie is dwindling, unfortunately.
For sure.
And that's true of a lot of older films, but particularly of this one, because
this is not an instant gratification movie at all.
No,
like
you
have to be patient
with this movie to get it. And then of course,
I mean,
go on.
No, sorry, I apologise. Please carry on. Sorry.
Well, I was going to crack a joke. You sounded like you had a more serious point to make. So I think
No, please.
Well, I was going to say the most important message of the film, obviously, is that gorillas do discover an alien space sex toy with the block. That's what the film's about. So I feel your point was more serious. Do you want to jump in?
Yeah, I was actually going to mention the sequence, the Africa sequence. Actually, I think it's when you consider that whole Africa, that entire Africa sequence, all of it on the savannah, was shot at Elstree. Everything was a back screen projection. Everything was a back screen projection. Wow. There were tens of thousands of individual photographs that were taken, and they were placed on this very, very complex sort of grid of projectors, and it was almost like a dome-like set that they had. So all of the projectors were hidden. They were front screen projection. So they were hidden behind rocks and under, behind bushes and what have you. But that whole sequence was at Elstree Studios. There was nothing that was exterior. Not one thing was exterior.
Yeah.
That, which I think is just a testament to how great a filmmaker Stanley Kubrick was.
Yeah, he didn't like to travel, so he was.
He didn't. You're right. The weird thing about Stanley Kubrick was that he actually had a pilot's license but didn't like to fly.
So sacrilege to say this, and it may be that it tests the limits of mine and Inside Man's friendship, but I'm going to say it anyway. I think that 2010 is a better film. So there you go.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
I know. It's just too. It's too on the nose for me. I like ambiguity. I like something that, as Critic Al had said, it sort of kicks in your thought processes. It makes you think, and whatever your own individual conclusion or premise is of this movie, whatever you think of it, whatever your final thoughts of it are, it's going to be your personal final thoughts. It's a very subjective movie.
And Andrew's unsubbing because of that.
I already unsubbed. Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Well, I'd say 2010 narratively is probably stronger, but I read something about what Carl Sagan said allegedly to Stanley Kubrick when making this, is that space is a wondrous place, and I guess I'm one of those people who appreciate the film much more, and it's not really a narrative. Well, I suppose it is,
right?
But it's a film full of wonder at space. I think, and it's the sort of imagery and the wondrous complexity and the vastness of space, and that's kind of what it is for me now. And I think I have to say, Inside Man, I'm with you there. I saw it on a 70 mil print at the Odeon Leicester Square with Alan Marks, my special effects guy, and they'd remastered it and all the rest of it, and it was a double bill with 2010. And in terms of unparalleled filmmaking, groundbreaking, and all the rest of it, I would agree with you guys. This can't be beat. It's up there with Lawrence of Arabia. It's the Lawrence of Arabia of space in a way.
Agree.
But because of the age I was when I saw this, and because of the age when I was when I saw 2010, and I saw 2010 in the cinema before I saw this in the cinema. That was on a re-release when I saw it. Much later. It was like the early 2000s sometime.
I loved the pet dolphin in 2010.
Well, the thing is I was a massive Roy Schneider fan, a massive Helen Mirren fan. They were both in the movie, and so and I'm a script writer, dialogue. 2001 has almost no dialogue. That's not a criticism of it, by the way. It works for what it is, but just to my personal tastes as a viewer. I like a film with a with narrative and dialogue, and I liked the conflict in 2010. So for me, just in terms of entertainment, I prefer, if I'm going to put one on to watch, again, it's going to be 2010. In terms of filmmaking, of course, this is way above. So I just want to explain my answer a little bit. But as a cinema goer paying for a ticket, I'd go and see them both again together. But if I could only see one, I'd probably see 2010 again.
So yeah, I'm in Gary's point of view where I think, I like the ambiguity. I could talk about 2001 for like 10 hours probably, whereas like 2010
coming soon on Enzo's channel, a 10-hour stream on 2001.
I mean, dude, yeah, you should. There's so many like already like videos about 2001, just hypothesizing about what's happening and what do they think is going on, and it's all fascinating. It's all awesome.
I want to know why they're carrying a German Panzerfaust on their back in this sequence. I'm not quite sure what's going on here, but I
think
but the interesting thing about it...
carry on. You sure? I was just going to say,
please.
If I had to sum up 2001 in one word, and the reason that I love it so much, it would be evocative. I think it's one of the most evocative films I've ever seen.
Most of Kubrick movies,
the imagery in 2001 is just it's almost like every shot is almost iconic. It's one of those.
The things that makes me think, the things that it makes me feel, the emotions and the ambience of the film and all of that kind of thing, I just think is the best of its class. I really do. I think it's a masterpiece.
It's very enigmatic as well. It doesn't give you the straight. It doesn't just wrap everything up in a bow. I mean, you're left with an ending where you're wondering what the hell is happening. Has he evolved into something new that's been brought to mankind? Is he stuck in some kind of dimension that's outside of space and time? It's crazy stuff, but it's brilliant.
It suggests things. It does true sci-fi should do. And
Inside Man, there's your first on-set job there, Inside Man. I remember this.
There you go. But it doesn't answer questions; it poses questions, and that's what
it makes you think. It makes you think. That's what sci-fi should do.
I mean, one of the big differences. I've not seen 2010 yet, but does it ruin the mystery of it though?
No, not really.
For me, it actually did, and I think that's a really good question. For me, it kind of did, because I mean, I'm not saying that I don't like 2010, but the big difference between the two movies is that 2001 wasn't based on a book, but 2010 was, right? Because the book of 2001 was completed after the movie. So the book was being written whilst the movie was being scripted by Kubrick and Arthur C. Clarke, and they had loads of arguments about who wrote what section, who wrote this scene and who wrote this part of the book, and so it was kind of co-written. The book was kind of, although the book was authored by Arthur C. Clarke, the story was written by Stanley Kubrick and Arthur C. Clarke, although it was kind of based on a previous work that he'd actually submitted to the BBC for a science fiction competition, and he failed to win with The Sentinel, which is actually kind of pretty good. It's not a bad little sort of novella, really.
Yeah, I like that short. Yeah, it's good.
I
did a song based on that.
I like the movie, The Sentinel.
Oh, really?
Totally unrelated. Well, look, we've gone over quite a bit, so to sort of head us into the finish line, as we've just experienced one science fiction epic, I feel we should look at another one, and here we are. It's a short film starring a certain actor we all know. Let's have a quick butchers at his work.
Milkshakes. I miss milkshakes. Used to have them with lunch at work every day. Oh, food of the gods, I tell you.
Honestly, I firmly believe that if that lot out there had a few milkshakes before, all of this kicked off.
I just think things could have turned out a lot differently. We could have all bonded over a chocolate vanilla, or maybe those awful malt milkshakes. And I really hate malt milkshakes.
Like my shitty apartment, my dead-end job.
And my ex-wife. Although it is a fair bet to say that she probably doesn't miss me.
I just had it so good back then. I just couldn't see it at the time. And of course,
They came along. And everybody lost their minds. Well, me, not so much.
you see, after 50 years of doing, I don't know what with my life.
Clearly not appreciating it. That was a close one. This ex-taxi driver found his true calling, his passion. Oh, you know that phrase? It's never too late. Totally me, as it turns out. You know, sometimes, just sometimes, I feel like I should go out there and kiss them on their leathery faces and thank them for making me the man I am today. Sometimes. But most times I think, nah.
There you go.
Getting Tim Roth vibes.
Oh, look at that! Who's that person there? Look at that. Uncredited uncredited script rewrites.
Indeed.
So
there you go.
That is
Well,
a cute little short film, Gary. It's good fun.
Well, thank you for your help.
No problem. Well, look, guys, we've rattled on about quite a lot of topics here. I hope we got to cover most of the things people wanted to talk about or plug. Of course, we didn't anticipate Chimp Crazy, which I now have in my possession and will be watching shortly. Yeah, I want to give everybody a chance to plug something. But before we do that, just going to let you know. So, of course, if you saw me on the Critical Drinker the other day, hang on, let me just move myself. There we go. All right, and we'll put Gary down here. There you go. It's all much more symmetrical now. So, yeah, I said to people, the Outcast Creative Channel is really about supporting other creatives. Now I'll put him up there. There we go. And the whole point behind that is to get people to come on who have a project that looks interesting, something that's near completion, maybe a comic that's on Kickstarter or novels people have got up on Amazon, whatever. They want a bit more exposure. And I did have 6 people contacted me within 48 hours of me doing that open bar. And I have the first of them coming on after open bar on Thursday. So normally when I do Rings of Power review, which I just can't be asked. So the last episode just, killed me on inside. I was dead inside after I watched the last episode of Rings of Power. So one of the people that contacted me was Jason Lennox, and he has a really cool comic book that is already 5 issues out. They've been doing them on Kickstarter, sort of issue by issue. I think it's called Lords of Chaos. We'll get into it on Thursday night. It's just before midnight. So if any of my panel are comic book fans and they're going to be up at that time, then do come along and check that out. That is going to be the first of the, not my first industry interview, of course, but it's going to be the first one that's come about as a result of me remembering to say what the channel was about while I had kind of quite a bit of exposure. And I booked 3 other people in addition to Jason. So so they're going to be coming on. I think he's coming on with a couple of his teams. I think there's 3 of them coming on actually. That's going to be at Thursday, 5 to midnight. So right after, right after Drinkers Done Open Bar, because that's normally when I do Lord of the Rings. So there we go.
Cool. Dude looks like a metalhead. That's good enough for me. Fellow
Yeah,
metalhead.
I've seen they've sent me quite a few pages of his comic book, and I've had a look at them. I mean, obviously they had to send me stuff first of all for me to say whether I wanted them to come on or not. And you know, there's a whole Kickstarter and all the rest of it. But yeah, I really like it. I like the style of the artwork. It's a black and white comic with color covers.
It doesn't look like Tumblr art, which is nice. It looks like proper art, which I always
I know. He's got his own style. It's
these days.
really interesting. So yeah, so that's
Have to check it out. That's after open bar, yeah.
After open bar, I'm not on open bar this week, but I normally do a stream around midnight on Thursday. It has been Rings of Power, but I've been losing the will to live doing that. So yeah, so we're gonna have Jason on, gonna talk about that. Cool. So fab stuff. Enzo, what you got coming up?
Carnosaur tomorrow. Me and Sammy 3P watched Carnosaur.
Oh man,
I guess it's officially October, so I think starting it's all going to be spooky season. In fact, something I didn't get to recommend is Exhuma. Go watch that. That was awesome. That's another horror movie. But yeah, Carnosaur full-length commentary tomorrow, 2:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. And also I might be cranking out some short videos and occasional Stupenzo cast here, as well as the usual weekly roundup nerd talk that we do. So yeah, check out the channel, give me a sub, a like, whatever, ring the bell, whatever that means. I don't know. I hear people say that, so that's what I'm just following suit.
It's just turning on the notifications so that when you release a video,
I know what ring the bell means. I'm just kidding. No, but yeah, Carnosaur tomorrow would be fun, and I got a few other really good YouTube friendly horror movies coming out up until December, basically. So I'll be celebrating spooky season all through November as well.
I need to do some kind of horror stream, but I haven't had a chance to sit down. There's some of the amazing special effects work for Carnosaur. So yeah.
Roger
Gary,
Corman, yeah.
Gary, have you got anything you want to plug? Murder Mystery Weekends coming up for our largely non-Australian audience. You're muted. You can't hear you at the moment. Was that just your being comical? No, can't hear you. Your audio's gone. What's happened? Well, while Gary's trying to reconnect his audio, Northern, what you got coming up?
Well, I've just premiered a rewatch of Garth Marenghi's Dark Place. First 2 episodes with Stupenzolicious, Logue, Toxic, and Inside Man. This Thursday, I've got Paranorman as part of my Halloween reviews for the next 4 to 5 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got The Crow this Friday, like with me and Critical and Inside Man.
That's Brandon Lee's. That's Brandon Lee's Crow, isn't it?
Brandon Lee one, yes. And we're hoping to get one more guest in. So I want to try and get Nadia on because she does all these horror movies, these Halloween type movies, and I've not had her on yet. So I want to try and get her on.
Yeah, she just got 500 subs.
Yep, and trying to get her to be voted the Face of Horror for YouTube. Sadly, she's still in third.
That's what she should call her channel, Face of Horror. There you go.
Yeah, good though, yeah.
Not too late to. That's a good name for a YouTube channel, The Face of Horror.
Yeah, other things, I'm going to try and see if I can do another little review of episode 2 of The Penguin with Lord Toxic and anyone else who wants to jump on once I get the stream ready. And maybe try and do another couple of episodes rewatching Garth Marenghi's Dark Place because, I want to get some of them done for Halloween.
Yeah.
Before Halloween season is finished, I should say.
Gary Bolter's now backstage. There he is. Hello. Is your sound working, Gary? It is. There we go.
I think is my sound working. Well, that's exciting.
Yeah, your sound is now working. Have you got anything you want to plug, sir?
No, I'm just going to a whole bunch of auditions this week, so fingers crossed I actually get one of them.
This man is a jobbing actor. He's going to be on my jobbing actors stream, which is going to be an industry interview. I've got a load of actors coming on for that, and they're all going to be talking about the things they have to do to survive.
Indeed.
So
break your leg, mate. Break your leg.
Critic Al, anything you want to plug real quick?
Yeah, tomorrow I'll be watching the new Hellboy movie because for some reason we're getting it here in the UK at the cinemas. So I will review
the new
that.
Hellboy movie?
Yep, new Hellboy movie based
Yeah.
upon the Crooked Man story.
Oh,
so
I
imagine it's going to be.
I'm not familiar with the Crooked Man. Is that a good thing?
Yeah, it's a pretty good story. It's very horror based. It's very Al Pacino kind of America, dark magic, voodoo type thing, religious. I was going to check the comic book out again before I see the film, but I'm actually going to do it the other way around. So I'll watch the film, read the comic book again, and then do the review for the film. And other than that, I am scripted today my video, which compares The Crow, 1989 James O'Barr book, 1994 Alex Proyas adaptation, and the 2024 remake Abomination to show just how bad it is. So that hoping to get done by Friday when I watch The Crow with Luke and Inside Man.
Are you going to include the Edward Furlong?
I'm avoiding all of the sequels. They get a passing mention and no more than that.
Right, yeah.
I might cover those at another point. It's a very long video as it is.
I didn't even know that film existed until I was a guest on another stream, and suddenly someone mentioned it. I was like,
pretty sure. I made you check it out because what's his name? Dennis Hopper is absolutely off his tits.
Yeah, I mean, it was just like I had no idea there was a. Was I on your channel? I can't remember, but I was on someone's channel, and they were doing the Crow stuff, and yeah, we got into that. I do want to say quickly before we go, a big thank you to all of my new subscribers, and there are quite a lot of them. I've seen new people in the chat every time I've gone live. This is the sweet spot time. This is the time when I can still remember who most of you are, and I try and keep up a fair bit of personal interaction. I'm still trying to reply to most of the comments I get on Facebook, on under the YouTube videos. But you know, listen, word of advice for people: if you ask me a question and I take the time to answer it, under that, then don't ask me 2 more questions, because you know I haven't got time to do 3 questions per person. At the minute, it's a sweet spot where I can answer most questions once, but that'll be it. But yeah, I'm really grateful to all the new subscribers. Got over 4,000 quite nicely during open bar, and of course, the Gail Ann Hurd interview helped sufficiently. When I did my 4,000 celebration stream on Friday night, during that stream we hit 4,300. We're now on Monday, and I'm now at 4,540.
Nice.
Or another way to look at it is I'm 360. Is that my maths going wrong? No, 460 away from 5K. So we might be doing a 5K celebration stream soon. If I do, it'll be on a Friday probably. I'll try and arrange it so it doesn't clash with you, Luke. I'll try and do it after. Yeah. Anyway, we'll see what happens. But I'm very grateful. I'm very grateful to those people that have subscribed. It's really given me a massive boost. And for that to happen on the Friday, which is a very difficult anniversary for me, was a really huge morale lift. And
I was glad you had a good Friday because I was worried about that day.
Yeah, it was a tough day. It was tough. Would have been a tough day, but it wasn't. It was good. It was good. It was all right. So that's it from us. It just remains for me to say thanks for everybody for watching, everyone in the comments, in the chat. Gary from Outcast Australia, of course, taking time to jump in.
If I may I just quickly say just one thing before we go, if that's okay.
I'm hovering my finger over the eject button inside, man. But you can go for it.
I just wanted to wish my lovely, darling, beautiful son a happy birthday. It's his birthday.
Happy birthday, man.
I keep forgetting you've got a 1-year-old son, man.
He's my lovely boy, and
Inside Man still popping them out left, right, and centre. You know, which is always a good thing.
Yeah,
they're
all somewhere between 6'5" and 6'8", so they're small boys.
So don't forget to join us on Thursday night when we'll be back for an industry interview. This is not a big famous person. This is an independent creative, which is all the more reason why you should come on that chat and support them, show them some love, show them support, see what they got to offer, check out their comic, see if it is for you. Because that is what the channel is all about, supporting independent creators. And I'm finally starting to feel like I might be getting in that mileage area where I can start to help people. And that's really what I want to do. On Sunday, we're going to be back with the next 2 episodes of The Shield. So I am going to play you out with this. Don't forget to get in touch if you're a creative with a project you think might interest me. You can get hold of me via either Twitter, Lance Nielsen WD, or the Outcast Creative Facebook page, or leave a comment somewhere and I will do my best to track you down. Call the people that you haven't spoken to for a while. Don't forget to tell them that you love them, and we'll see you all real soon.
I'm a different kind of cop. We knock down the doors other cops don't want to. Taking fire from every scumbag in town. They didn't earn it. I don't feel bad about taking it.
All about bringing force down on the street. Why don't y'all take a look at what you got going on under your own roof?
I never put the money above us.
How long you think that's gonna last?
I don't want Vic in our lives anymore.
You're investigating me? Vic Mackey beats suspects. He deals drugs. And that's just all in one day. I wonder what he's gonna do tomorrow. Everybody down! Hey, my day's just getting started.